Yep. Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight, it was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What can this slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm going to burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump discontinues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you for Toadstool Sports Monday, November 24th. Got to get right into it, man, pretty much. I didn't realize that we're in Thanksgiving week, so we have all these college basketball games that are going on early-ish in the day. If you follow me on Instagram, I already put out a play, but I'll talk about it pretty much right now. First game I'm going to talk about is going to be a play for me. That's one of many. I'm going to have 7 college basketball plays today. I don't know. I think 2 hockey plays and 4 NBA plays, something like that. Yeah, yesterday I think we went 7-5. It started off looking like it was going to be a huge day, but of course NFL was terrible. The Raiders fired Chip Kelly because their offense is so bad. I mean, it wasn't anything that the Browns did offensively, at least. I mean, the Browns were good defensively. There's no question about that. But Shedeur Sanders, I mean, he was awful. He was 11 for 20 for like 200 yards. I mean, is that really impressive against a Raider defense? I would not say so. Although everybody's like hailing him the new franchise quarterback. Yeah, you know how these Browns quarterbacks go, man. Good luck with that. The Raiders just suck. He also did throw an interception in that game, too, so that helped me out in fantasy. I played the Raiders defense in fantasy. They did well enough. I'm going to win this week, unless something really bad happens tonight. I think I'm up by about 60 or 70, and I have Dowdle on my team to try to cut into what my opponent might do. My opponent has Leggett and Christian McCaffrey left, I think, so whatever. Arizona Cardinals, they should have won. I mean, there are certain things about it where you should say that they should have won. Like, Jacksonville threw 3 interceptions in the game. When you have that going for you, you shouldn't lose. So that would indicate that Arizona played horribly in the other phases of the game. Although they didn't. I mean, it was statistically close. I don't know how you have a game statistically close, win the turnover battle, and lose. I mean, they were winning the game late. They had to retie it again late, send it into overtime. And that's, I mean, when you have an underdog and it goes into overtime, that pretty much tells you were on the right side. But I just never saw 3. No 3 came up, although I saw some professionals were on the 3. They must have, like, picked off the number, like, as soon as it came out of the market, and that was it, which the importance of the number there, because that would have been a push, but I am pissed. I think Arizona should have won that game. And then, of course, the other 2 plays that I put in my pick 5 actually both won with Tennessee and Dallas. So that was, I mean, I'm not mad about that, but I should have made those my plays instead. It's like, which ones do you want to pick, man? I liked Tennessee. I mean, I should have added that as a play. I mean, the sandwich spot there, it was real. College basketball started off really hot. We got Western Michigan, pretty much no sweat, easy win. Robert Morris, I think, lost by 1. They looked like they had a bunch of chances to win that game at the end, and they wound up losing by 1, but they covered. Lamar with an outright win as a 6.5-point underdog. Bryant also covered as UConn just, again, it was a disinterested UConn team. They just didn't put up a lot of points. They were never in danger of losing the game, but that's like exactly how I thought that game was going to go. I think they won by 23, maybe, somewhere in the 20s, I believe. So Bryant, even though they didn't even get to 50 points, it was like, I don't know, UConn didn't get to 80 either. So that's what I kind of thought, lower scoring game. Marshall then was a loser, though. Couldn't get it done. They won by 9, I think. We needed them to win by 13. They never had enough of a margin to do it. It was way too low scoring, which I thought Marshall was going to speed up the game more than they did. That sucked. And then Jackson State looked like they were in decent position until they fell apart late in the game. They were within that number for most of the game, and then like a late run against them put them out of it. I don't remember how much they wound up losing by, but it wasn't that much more than the number, I don't think. What did they lose by, like 14? Maybe more than that? I don't know. But that one, like the best number that I found on that one was 11. So I don't know. And then Vancouver was absolute ass. So thanks to them for... thanks to them for making my night end horribly. Vancouver, just absolute garbage. I don't know what that was. Although I think the stats would indicate that the score was misleading. NBA was awesome. We were 3-0 in the NBA. Boston Celtics, easy win. They were just blowing Orlando out for a lot of the game. And then the final score wound up being closer than what a lot of the game was. I think the Celtics probably just stopped paying attention once they were ahead by almost 30, I think, in that game in the second half. And they only won, I think, by 16, maybe something in that ballpark, but whatever it was, that was a win. Oklahoma City, pretty much an easy win and cover on them too. Even though both of those sides, I think, wound up being public with less of the money on them. Those both won. And then Utah also got the cover. Looked like they had chances to maybe win that game outright, and then they made it scary as they fell apart in the final couple of minutes of the game, and then all of a sudden it went from like a 1 or 2 point game to an 8-point deficit. I'm like, are they really not even going to cover this? But they did. They actually they got back and only lost by 2, so I'm fine with that, obviously. Yeah, Jeffrey, what's up? Saab, what's up? I don't care about revenge from a season opener. I don't care. Don't care about 2 days off either. 2 days off doesn't matter in hockey. It happens all the time. It's still... Dude, there were a bunch of professionals that agreed with me on that game. I don't think my read on that game was wrong. I'm just telling you. Like, revenge for a season opener, it doesn't matter that much. Like, the only thing that I think mattered a little bit was Calgary just... They will have a tendency to want to play well against Vancouver just because they're a geographically close team that has more name recognition than they do. Yeah, NBA. NBA continues to be my best sport, and it's not even close. Shedeur Sanders, he sucks, dude. Yeah, he's going to throw a lot of interceptions. Let's just put it that way. The books... Wait, what are we talking? Wait, what? The Sharps. The Sharp sides were the Saints. The Sharps are absolutely on the Saints. There's no question. I showed you. That was a huge pros versus Joes situation. And that was like the only reason why I picked the Saints in my pick 'em, because I was like kind of thinking, well, Atlanta injured player spot, but I showed you how horrible Atlanta's schedule was with all the travel they were doing. So I wound up just having to go. And I know the Saints went into the bye on a good note, but no, the sharp side was absolutely the Saints. Yeah, I don't know what we're talking about here. And the squares, we're on the Lions, I guess. And yeah, they were definitely on the Bills, yeah. But that was a Thursday night game, so I don't know. I mean, Thursday night gets a little bit less traction. The Lions were definitely a heavily public side yesterday, which I wasn't even sure that the Lions were going to be the wrong side in that game, as I showed you. I think the only reason why it was because there was a Thanksgiving look-ahead component to that one. But I told you Lions over the team total was the way to do it, and they did, although it required overtime to do it, but they got over. Jazz, correct, yes. Thank you. Yes. I mean, I'm not always going to fade the public. I did not like the market read on that one, but I thought the spot was correct for Oklahoma City. Pinsy, what's up, man? No, the Saints were not a square play. They were not. It was just not the right side. That's all there is to it. I don't know what else to say about it. That market read was heavily like pros versus Joes. Like the Joes were on the Falcons in that game. Like I saw that market read. I showed it on the show. Like the professional money was all on the Saints, and it was not a game that was like really heavily. There was not heavy public involvement in that game either. So, the pros are going to hate the Falcons. I don't know. I mean, it was just one game that they didn't get right. I mean, it happens all the time. Let's get into the college basketball here, man. We have way too many plays here today. I haven't even entered all of them into my banners here yet. College basketball, we have a ton of tournaments going on here. I don't want to go over every single tournament like I have been doing. It's just tons of them. Almost all of them are in tropical locations. Like, hey, give the boys some vacation time. So I think, some of these northerly schools might get more distracted by being in Florida and being in the Caribbean and whatever. But in this first game, I don't think so. If you follow me on Instagram, we're going to take Toledo +3. I'm going to go right back to the well and fade Troy again. This is in some Fort Myers tournament being hosted at Florida Gulf Coast. It's the Coconut Hoops is what it's called. Yeah, great. There's some of these names are ridiculous, dude. Just like the bowls, like they have different sponsors and stuff, and they just get ridiculous names. Troy, they're in a terrible spot, dude. This is ridiculous. Troy, I've already pointed out what they've been doing. They went out to the Pacific Coast to play 4 road games in a row on the Pacific Coast. They were out there all week, and they actually stepped up their game. They actually played pretty well in all 4 of them. They didn't lose by more than 11 in any of them. And then they stepped up their game. They went into San Diego State and beat them in double overtime. So I'm thinking, that's ridiculous. I mean, San Diego State, we know how good of a basketball program they are. Troy was a 14.5-point underdog in that one. And to do that, I was like, they're going to be in a deflated spot. Plus, San Diego State plays slow and grinds you, whereas USC speeds you up. So I thought there was going to be this huge tempo mismatch coming into this next game because Troy also kind of wants to play slow-ish, I believe. So I thought USC was going to speed it up. I thought it was like there's no way Troy's going to put in that effort multiple games in a row. What did they do? They took USC to triple overtime and almost won that game too, falling just short as 18.5-point underdogs. Again, absolutely ridiculous. Neither team shot particularly well in the game. Well, yeah, I mean, the stats were pretty close, although Troy did massively out-rebound USC. USC looks like they're going to not be a team that does well on the interior. Let's just put it that way. They're a fast-paced shooting team, like a finesse team, which usually is not the type of team that I like. So Troy out-physicaled them, but now Troy's coming off of all of that, and now they have to play an 11 a.m. game East Coast time in Florida after they're adjusted to the Pacific time zone. So now their biological clock is going to get like totally fucked again. And it's like they have to play this game at 8 a.m. now, their time, which I know usually the going east isn't as bad, but this is pretty ridiculous. I mean, this isn't 1 p.m. Eastern, like in the NFL and whatever, or even noon in college football. This is 11 a.m. in Florida, coming off of 2 monster performances. I don't see Troy having much left here, man. I know it's this tournament, but I just don't see it. Toledo, the spot is just so much easier for them, man. I mean, they had a decent win over Youngstown in their last game. They've been off since Wednesday. I know sometimes when a team has an extra break, it can disrupt their momentum a little bit, but they don't really have anything upcoming for a while, so this is like their last game before they have a big break, and in the middle, well, if you want to call it, in the middle of the break, they face some Division II team as well. So I think they are going to have their sights on this game against Troy here. So the spot is way, way worse for Troy with the travel and it being basically like a double letdown spot. They played 5 overtime periods over the last couple of games, and I think both of those were after Toledo even played last. Because Toledo last played on the 19th, So, actually, yeah, sorry. Troy played on the 18th and the 20th. Yeah, so, but still, we're going to take Toledo. Troy has 82% of tickets, 90% of the cash on them. They dropped a little bit from 5 to 3. Might be able to get 3.5 right now on this. Game's coming up less than an hour. Fading the public by fading Troy here. Yeah, that's play number 1 there. Liberty in Vermont. I don't really have much of a take on it. Thank you, sir. The NBA picks, yeah. Hopefully we can do it again with the NBA. Although the NBA today, I mean, I'm gonna be on some favorites that are too big. Dirty Sock, thanks for hanging out, man. Let's keep going here. I don't want to talk about every single one of these. Like I said, we have all these different tournaments going on. Florida, in Kissimmee, Daytona Beach, whatever. I don't have much to say about a lot of these. All these early games are in neutral locations, except for Fairleigh Dickinson is hosting East Texas A&M. I have no opinion on that game, but that's at Fairleigh Dickinson in Hackensack, the home of Frank Sinatra. We do have this Virgin Islands tournament with UMass and Oregon State playing in the loser of the loser bracket. I think both of these teams lost both games. UMass lost, I believe, as a favorite against Green Bay in the most recent game. Fuck you, Adblock. Oh, my fucking God. Why do they have to bring up the fucking... Dude, it's because they want money. They just have to throw the, not a pop-up, but throw that new tab right at you and fucking scare you. Like there's some... I always think there's some, virus. I'm like, what the fuck? I don't know. It scares me every time. But yeah, UMass, they should bounce back from playing that ugly. Oregon State, I mean, they lost to Iona in the last game. Iona is a better team than Green Bay, which is who Massachusetts just lost to. Money's coming in on Oregon State. I kind of disagree with it, though. 81% of the tickets on UMass, 71% of the cash on Oregon State, who are up from a 2-point favorite to a 3-point favorite with juice. I'm not going to disagree that they're the better team, but to me, I think UMass is going to be kind of in this spot where I think they kind of want to save face after losing to Green Bay. Green Bay's played pretty well in that tournament, though. Next up, TNT. We're into the 1 p.m. We got another play here. We're going to take the points with Rutgers, plus 15.5 against Tennessee, who are ranked 20th in the country. This game is in Las Vegas, so I don't think that the venue is really great for either team, but this is Tennessee, I don't believe, has left their own time zone. I don't think, have they played even any neutral site games yet? I'm not even sure. I think this might be their first non-home game, and Tennessee hasn't played anybody yet. The best team that they've played so far is, Northern Kentucky, maybe? I don't know, man. Tennessee, we know they're good, but we don't know how good. There are new faces here. There's a lot of turnover now in the era of the NIL, the era of the transfer and whatever. Now they got to go out to Vegas to play Rutgers. But one huge piece of this handicap is tomorrow, Tennessee has to play Houston, who are number 2 in the country. And not only that, but that game is even bigger because Houston, if you remember, is the team that eliminated Tennessee from the tournament last year. In the Elite Eight, Houston beat Tennessee. So I think that is actually a revenge motive there. You remember who bounced you from the tournament. I know it didn't work with Wisconsin, but we're talking about Tennessee being in a look ahead here, and I think it's an even bigger look ahead to Houston for that reason. So Tennessee, they might not completely show up for Rutgers, who's a team that lost both of their best players from last year to the NBA, so we don't really know what Rutgers is at this point. I think Rutgers is in a good spot to bounce back, though. They just took an embarrassing loss at home to the Central Connecticut team, who should have won their conference last year. Central Connecticut should have. They took that upset in their conference tournament to St. Francis. Central Connecticut was far and away the better team, the best team in the NEC last year. They're doing some things this year. They did upset Boston College, but now this was even bigger because Boston College is not very good. I don't think Rutgers is either, but they're probably better than BC. Rutgers is a 15.5-point favorite. This was at home for Rutgers in Piscataway, New Jersey, and Rutgers had a horrific shooting game. 36% from the field, 26% from 3. Central Connecticut didn't shoot well either, but that is their MO. They don't shoot well. 39% from the field, but they were 43% from 3. Rutgers lost the turnover battle as well, which usually doesn't happen at home. So some outliers in this game kind of led to this happening. But Rutgers losing by double digits as 15.5-point favorites. Maybe they were even looking ahead to facing Tennessee, man. I mean, maybe, yeah, I think the turnovers might have indicated that maybe Rutgers just was kind of distracted and looking ahead. But now this sets up a nice bounce back spot for Rutgers. Now they just get to not hear about what just happened. They're just leave home, go away, fly across the country, and they're going to show up for Tennessee. I mean, especially if they were looking ahead, they already had their sights on this. So I think Rutgers will put in a better performance here. And the other thing I like about fading Tennessee as a favorite is that Tennessee plays slow under Rick Barnes, and they're a much better defensive team than offensive team. Their offensive team definitely has their offense definitely has a lot of lapses, just like last year. So that also sets up better as a spot to, as a team that you want to fade as a large favorite. For Rutgers, I know they're not as good. That's why they're getting a ton of points here. Ken Pom actually has them worse than Boston College slightly, so my mistake. But Rutgers also plays slow, so there is that. So they won't be thrown out of like a tempo that they want to play. Like both teams want to play slow, so I'm expecting this to be a pretty ugly game where it makes more sense to take the points. The total is crazy low at 140, and the money is coming in on Rutgers. 79% of tickets on Tennessee, 91% of the cash on Rutgers. For an afternoon game, I mean, this might be a game where maybe you start seeing some public involvement, like wanting to get some action early in. Maybe this might be a week where, because it's Thanksgiving week, maybe there are some people that are taking the week and going out to Vegas. I mean, who knows? But I do like Rutgers plus the points there. That's my second play of the day for all the reasons I just said. All right. What else do we have going on here? I didn't really have much of an opinion on most of these games. I mean, Liberty and Vermont. This game is in Kissimmee, Florida as well, which, I mean, it's a better location for Liberty because they're a more southerly team. For Liberty, I mean, they're coming off an easy win over a non-D1 team, although that was a week ago, so they've now had a week off, which could disrupt their momentum a little bit. Although after this Vermont game, they don't really have anything upcoming for a while. For Vermont just took their first loss of the season to Buffalo. So I think that might actually be worse because taking that first loss can hang you over a bit and you're just not really used to it. Liberty's actually faced a more difficult schedule as well, facing Florida Atlantic and Charleston. I think those teams are actually better than pretty much Vermont's entire slate of opponents except for maybe Buffalo. Buffalo's not awful, but yeah, Vermont took that loss. It was a close game. I think it was a close spread in that game. It was a true road game at Buffalo. I think Vermont is slightly better than Buffalo. I think Buffalo might have been about a 1-point favorite in that game, if I'm not mistaken. Vermont has had 5 days off, so they do have some rest after that too to try to bust that loss of momentum there. But I don't know, man. I think that's the type of loss that could hang you over a little bit. And you're going to look at this and say, oh, it's a 4-0 team against a 4-1 team. People kind of know both these teams because they both show up in the tournament a lot. So I think the public perception is that these teams are somewhat close as far as like how good they are. But the odds makers are telling you Liberty is significantly better as they're an 8.5-point favorite up to 8.5 with juice. It kind of looks tempting. I think from the public's perspective, it's going to look tempting to take the points. I would probably lay it with Liberty, but I don't really have much of an opinion on this game. The total has dropped quite a bit, though, to 143. So it's a little bit more difficult to lay points with a lower total, but Liberty also likes to play very slow. Vermont plays slow as well. But, yeah, probably that's why the total has dropped, because both teams just want to play slow. So I would still probably lay it with Liberty, though. And now we see some percentages coming in now. I mean, I don't know how much weight you want to give those early in the morning in a college basketball. On a college basketball board where the money is difficult to figure out what it means. 75% of tickets, 97% of the cash on Liberty. But I lean that way. Going to Buffalo Wild Wings. Is that you're going to Buffalo Wild Wings today? Yeah, I mean, they're going to have all this college basketball on, man. So maybe not the worst place to watch these games. Later in the afternoon in Daytona Beach, we got Jacksonville and Bethune-Cookman in the Sunshine Slam. right away, I mean, I noticed the venue is a little bit more favorable to Jacksonville because they're not really that far from Daytona Beach. Bethune-Cookman, I forget where they are. So somebody can let me know where they are. I'll just look real quick. I know they're in the South somewhere. They only played one home game so far. They haven't played any home games. They played in Daytona. Oh, so actually Bethune-Cookman has already played in this arena, I guess, earlier in the season or somewhere in Daytona Beach. But even so, Bethune-Cookman's coming off a couple of big games, man, where I gave them out as a play against Dayton on Saturday, and they covered that one fairly easily. They only lost by 9. They put in a good performance. Dayton, a slow-paced team. Dayton was not in a good spot either. And then Bethune-Cookman came off of that nice performance on the road in Ohio. So they were just traveling within Ohio, and they pulled off an outright upset at Ohio. Ohio were 6.5-point favorites in this game. I know Ohio, the record doesn't look good, but they're not a horrible team. And Bethune-Cookman was able to... Oh, no, this was not in Ohio. What? Why does it say at? I thought ESPN only said at if it was a... that was part of the Daytona tournament, I guess. Dude, my mistake. I don't even know, man. I think they were in Dayton, though, right? Yeah, they played in Dayton, but then I guess the game against Ohio was in Daytona. Dayton plus an A. I don't know, man. Usually ESPN will put that as a neutral site. They'll like asterisk it and whatever. I don't know. But whatever. Bethune-Cookman pulled off the upset there. So now they're off 2 huge performances in a row, and they do have Indiana coming up next in 5 days. So I think that does set up a bit of a look ahead. Bethune-Cookman's actually not bad for a SWAC team, but I think I would lean towards Jacksonville in this one. Jacksonville's coming off getting blown out by George Mason. George Mason, not a bad team. And that was at George Mason. George Mason shot really well in that game. 58% from the field, 50% from 3. Unlikely to happen again. Jacksonville actually out-rebounded them, and Jacksonville shot horribly in the game. 38% from the field, 24% from 3. So that's a bit of an outlier there, too. So that loss wasn't quite as bad as it looked. So, yeah, I lean to Jacksonville in this one. It's not a play, but Bethune-Cookman's up from a 3-point favorite to a 4-point favorite. If anything, I think you're going to at least maybe be fading the public in this game because people have kind of seen Bethune-Cookman doing some things. So I think the public will have a tendency to want to play them. And they are the slightly better team, as we can see, but I would take the points with Jacksonville. Yep. You like the under in that one? I mean, I'm not going to disagree with it, but the number has dropped a lot. I mean, losing 8 points of value on a total is somewhat significant, even though every point, doesn't mean as much as it does in like the NBA, the NFL, I mean, or whatever. In the NBA, they mean the least. But in college basketball, it means a little bit of something. Starting with the Las Vegas. Las Vegas is hosting all these big games tonight, man, at different arenas throughout the city. The Michelob Ultra Arena is hosting Creighton and Baylor. These are all, I think, part of the Player Era Festival. Creighton and Baylor, it's going to be on True TV, who are losing their contract to Disney for March Madness, which I'm still pissed about because the CBS/TNT Turner networks have had it forever, and it's been really good. So stop ruining everything we love, Disney. Disney, they ruined kids' movies. They've ruined Star Wars. They've ruined NFL Red Zone. Now they're going to ruin March Madness. Like, what, dude? Disney has to go away. Like, stop getting your hands on everything. Not to mention they're like a haven for like pedophiles. So, and a bunch of their stuff is trying to indoctrinate kids now. But let's not get this channel nuked. All right, Creighton and Baylor. It's a good game, man. In Nevada. Don't really know if that venue really is favorable to either of these teams more than the other. As far as Creighton is concerned, they're off to a 3-1 start. The only really good opponent they faced was Gonzaga, but they did have a true road game against Gonzaga, although Gonzaga blew them out. Gonzaga is legitimately good, though. Really good. So Creighton, you could argue, might be the more battle-tested of these two teams for that reason. I mean, they are, because Baylor's best opponent so far has been Washington, and Baylor had kind of an unimpressive win against them. Baylor, this might be their first time leaving home as well. Yeah, I think Baylor has played all 3 of their games at home so far, and 2 were against Texas Little Brothers. So Baylor hasn't really shown us much of anything yet. Baylor a lot of times does have the name recognition more than Creighton does, but I don't know about this one, man. Baylor, I was going to say, I think Baylor is the favorite here. Yeah, they're down from a 4-point favorite to a 3-point favorite. They're getting the public money here, 73% of tickets, 73% of the cash. Money looking like it's kind of coming in against it. I would probably take the points with Creighton. I mean, Creighton, again, they're more battle-tested, and they've at least been to the Pacific time zone once already, having to go to Gonzaga. So it'll be, probably an easier trip for them to go to Las Vegas just because they've done it once already. Baylor has not. Baylor also does have St. John's on the horizon, so I don't know. I'm not going to say they're going to overlook Creighton, though. And I don't know, does Baylor care about 2 years ago in the tournament when Creighton knocked them out of the tournament? I mean, probably not, because there's so many personnel differences now. They probably don't care about that. But that was a fun one for me in my bracket 2 years ago because I had Creighton. I believe I had Creighton in the Final Four in my bracket that year, and they made the Elite Eight, and they almost beat San Diego State to get into the Final Four. So, man, but Creighton did beat Baylor in the second round of that tournament. Who's McBuckets? I have no idea. I could not even name one player on Creighton. I don't know who's on what team at this point. I just look at situations. Who are we talking about? Jackson McAndrew? Is he McBuckets? McChesney? They have multiple Micks. I don't know what we're talking about. I literally don't recognize any of these names, though. They do have a guy named Dix, so that's solid, I guess. And they do have a 7-footer in Dimitrievich. So, yeah, whatever. No idea. Seton Hall and number 25, NC State. NC State cracking the rankings here on ESPN2, kicking off the Maui games that are going on here, which is being hosted by Chaminade in Maui there. And Chaminade always is in the tournament because they host it, and they're a Division II team. And as I said, sometimes they actually pull off some surprises and play decent. NC State is definitely the better team over Seton Hall. Seton Hall has been ugly for a while now. I know they're 5-0, but they haven't played anybody good yet. And I think they've played in New Jersey. I think they've been at home for every single game so far. But every opponent that they faced has been a Northeast team. They're all from New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. So Seton Hall, I mean, they're going to have to now travel out to Maui. Good luck with that. And Seton Hall, they play ugly, ugly basketball, man. And last couple of years, they've been bad as well. Not only just ugly, they're going to slow it down, play ugly, frustrate opponents, but no, they actually are legitimately bad. They don't play good offense. They're just not good at this point. NC State is the better team. They're more battle-tested. They're coming off a win over VCU, so that was a bigger deal for them. NC State did not cover, by the way. VCU gave them, I think, a little bit of a scare in this one. But that's the best opponent either team has faced, VCU. I mean, I don't even think it's close. So NC State is a little bit more battle-tested. But yes, it is true that they also have not left their region of the country either. So both teams do have to go out to Hawaii from basically not having left their own area. And then NC State does have to face Auburn, but it's not until December 3rd. So I don't really know that that's actually a look ahead when you have so much time off. That's going to be after the holidays. So I don't really know that they're going to be focused on that. And then I think depending on what you do in this tournament, you might have to play again. So you don't see the games on the schedule yet, but that's because you just don't know who you're playing yet. You know what I mean? So that's something to keep in mind where it looks like these teams have upcoming breaks. The teams in these tournaments, they're going to play again. It's just we don't know who the opponents are going to be yet in those. So, I mean, in this one, NC State's the better team. The money's coming in against them, but I probably lean towards NC State. They're down from 10 to 9.5, 96% of the tickets, 99% of the cash on Seton Hall. Don't know how much I buy that. And the total going up kind of indicates something on NC State, even though the line has gone down on NC State. But I think NC State is absolutely correlated to a higher total because they're the team that wants to play faster. How fast? I forget. Let me see. How does Ken Bum even have them in here? Where does he have them? I don't see, dude, I don't see NC State. I don't see, what are we doing here? There they are. Oh, N.C.State. Thank you, Ken Bum. Fucker. All right, NC State, yeah, he has them 150th in tempo. So mid-tempo team, mid-tempo / fast-ish, I guess. So, yeah, they're going to want to speed it up. So, NC State, needing them to cover a large number, plus being the faster team, I think they're absolutely correlated to an over in that game. Okay. In the Virgin Islands, because I keep talking about this tournament, Green Bay and Iona. Green Bay keeps pulling off these, well, they haven't pulled off 2 upsets, so they not almost, but they hung with Yale, let's just say, which was a loser for me here, because Green Bay was coming off a big performance against Minnesota. But they hung with Yale, and then they upset UMass. So this Green Bay team actually, they're getting battle tested early, and they're actually playing decent. So maybe they're going to be better than we think they are. Maybe they're going to make a little bit of a run in the horizon. Who knows? But I don't expect them to win here against Iona. I mean, Green Bay, they're not the better team, obviously. Iona definitely is. Iona did just beat Oregon State, I think, as a slight underdog in their game yesterday. So this game is the third place game, I believe is what this is, because these teams are both 1-1 in the tournament. I expect Iona to get it done because they are the better team, and I just don't see Wisconsin Green Bay continuing to pull off like good performance after good performance as an underdog. Although the money looks like it's coming in towards them, even though Iona initially went up from 7 to 7.5. 54% of tickets, 62% of the cash on Green Bay. Again, I would probably lay it with Iona, but I don't want to touch the game, man. Going into more Las Vegas stuff, this one at the MGM Grand, where I have been, by the way, but they got rid of their tiger. They used to have a live tiger at the MGM Grand, and they no longer do. So I've been there since they got rid of it, and it's just an empty cage. Dude, it's still there. There's an empty cage where the tiger used to be. It's like, let's just stare at an empty cage, baby. It's artistic. But anyway, Mike Tyson probably took the tiger. This game, this is part of the Player Era Festival again, whatever it is. Kansas and Notre Dame is what this game is. Ranked 24th in the country, Kansas against Notre Dame. I'm giving out a play on this one, by the way. We're going to take the points with Notre Dame in this one, plus the 5. I think Notre Dame is a little bit more on the upswing here right now, man, even though Kansas, you got to think they're going to be improving as well. You might be able to get 5.5 on this. It looks like the number's somewhere between the two. Kansas is public, of course. Kansas gets all the name recognition, even though they were down last year. They're like always in the mix, It's Kansas. But Notre Dame, I think, is kind of sneakily improving. 79% of tickets, only 52% of the cash on Kansas. So the real money looks like it's kind of fading Kansas, and I agree with it. Again, the fact that the odds makers are only lining Kansas as a 5.5 point favorite should tell you something as well, that they're on a neutral. They're telling you that there isn't a huge gap between these two teams. As far as Kansas is concerned, they're only 3-2, and both times they've stepped up, they've lost by double digits against North Carolina and Duke. I know those are not easy opponents to play. I get it, especially Duke. And yeah, Kansas was hanging around in that game against Duke, but that's actually part of the reason why I'm going to go against them here. Because yes, they're a little bit more battle tested, but this was a huge game for them against Duke, and they were in this game until late. Duke pulled away late in this game. Kansas was hanging around, man. Kansas was still in this game. They were down 3 with under 5 minutes to go in this game. So Kansas, they were in the game, and then in the final 5 minutes, they only scored one more time. They only scored 2 more points, and Duke put it away. This game was closer than it looked like it was, man, on the final score. Both teams actually shot pretty poorly in the game, from 3 at least. But statistically, it was close, except that Duke dominated the rebound battle against Kansas. Kansas only 19% from 3, so yeah, that kind of worries me a little bit that maybe Kansas will obviously progress from that and shoot better from 3. But still, I don't think Kansas is that good. Ken Baum, where does he have them at? I don't even remember where he has them. I looked at this earlier. He has them 29th, so he has them outside of the top 25. Kansas is a better defensive team than an offensive team, so that's and they play slow-ish. So that's the type of profile. I mean, that is what they usually do in recent years. That is the type of profile that you want to potentially fade them when they're a favorite, man, because they play better defense than offense, and they slow the game down, so it makes it more difficult for them to cover a number like that. Going up against Notre Dame, I know Notre Dame isn't the better team, obviously, but Ken Bum does have them in the top 100. They also play slow, so they're not going to be thrown out of the type of pace that they want to play. They play slower than Kansas, actually. But yeah, I think it's going to be a slow kind of slugfest type of game, which is what you want when you're taking points. Notre Dame, I mean, they're pretty balanced, at least between offense and defense. They're top 100 in both. I mean, they're not a horrible team. It's just that they're not totally battle-tested yet, but the good thing is they did get a little bit battle-tested by having to go on the road to Ohio State, and they did play well. They almost won the game, which is why I faded Notre Dame in the ensuing game. And this is the other reason why I like Notre Dame here, because Notre Dame's coming off an ugly game where they only beat Bellarmine by 7 as 20-something point favorites here. They were down to 24.5. I think I gave it out at 26, somewhere in that range on my show, whatever it was. Maybe it was even 27.5. It didn't even matter. Bellarmine got us the cover on the show in that game. And again, I said it was a huge sandwich spot because Notre Dame had that huge game against Ohio State, and they had this Kansas game up next. I think they totally overlooked Bellarmine. And this game was never in doubt as far as who was going to win the game. Notre Dame was winning this game by 21 with 8:34 left in the game. So the game was totally over. And then the final score made it look worse for Notre Dame than it actually was. Luckily for us, Notre Dame took their foot off the gas, and Bellarmine made a really nice late run. But because that game looked so ugly and Notre Dame did get maybe a little bit of a scare at the end of it, I think Notre Dame already had taken their foot off the gas. So it was obviously not a full effort from them in that game, which is how he handicapped it. They're in better position to put in a better game here, whereas Kansas is coming off that much more difficult game. So, and by the way, Kansas, they're going from being they were an anti-public underdog, I think, against Duke, and now they're a public favorite. So there's that public perception shift going on between the two games, too. So, and Notre Dame is going from a public-ish favorite, I think, although I don't think there were a lot of public players in that game, but going from that to an anti-public dog here. So, Notre Dame plus the points. All right. Keeping it going here. We're not going to get this done before the games tip off at 11, but I did already do the Instagram video for it. We do have Lamar in Oakland, and of course, this is actually a tournament, I guess, being hosted in Missoula, Montana. So Montana, I thought it was just a one-off game with Lamar at Montana yesterday. We got the win outright with Lamar yesterday, but that was actually Montana. I guess is actually hosting a little bit of a tournament here. Lamar coming off that nice upset. They could be in a little bit of a bad spot here after that, pulling off the upset. They're facing Oakland, and Oakland's sitting at 1-5. And you're going to look at the number and think, what is going on here? Like, how is Oakland a 1.5-point favorite against a 3-1 Lamar team? Well, this is early season college basketball. You know that means that Oakland has faced a difficult schedule, and yeah, they have. They started the season against Michigan, Purdue, and Houston all on the road. Lost all 3. They played Purdue pretty well. And then, yes, I know they also have other losses. Well, they played UCF. They're a Big 12 team, and they're not bad. They had to play them on the road. And then they took an ugly loss against Eastern Michigan, which I don't remember. Was that a play for us on the show? It might have been. I think I might have given out Eastern Michigan in that one. I forget. Or no, I gave out Eastern Michigan against Detroit Mercy, maybe? I forget. I don't remember, but I think I've gotten maybe 2 Eastern Michigan games right recently on the show, but whatever. Or one involving Detroit Mercy and one involving Eastern Michigan, whatever it was. But yeah, Oakland, they've played a more difficult schedule. Now they're coming off that somewhat ugly loss to Eastern Michigan, although Eastern Michigan's not horrible. Eastern Michigan, I think they step up their game for a team like Oakland, because I think Eastern Michigan considers themselves to be a little brother in Michigan to Oakland. Oakland is also in Michigan, not Oakland, California. Oakland, we see them get into the tournament quite a bit, so yeah. I mean, that's pretty much what I have to say about this. I would lean to Oakland in this game. I think the spot sets up better for them. They've flipped from a +1.5 dog to a -1.5 favorite. And again, it's one of those games where the line looks very misleading. Like, oh, pick the winner or getting points with Lamar, the team with the better record, the team that we just saw upset Montana yesterday. Yeah, I say good luck with that. And Oakland is also rested because they haven't played yet, or they haven't played in this tournament yet. They haven't played since Friday, and Lamar played yesterday. Now, the only thing is, Lamar has a little bit of an advantage in that they played in this venue already. So that's the one thing. When you have a team that is already adjusted to the new arena and whatever, that's a little bit of an advantage for them. So, I mean, that's not going to be a play for me. But, yeah, Boston was all right. I went around a little bit. Went to one of the old diners that they have there that's like this weird like time capsule. I went to Penn and Teller. Wasn't as good as the last time I saw Penn and Teller, but they were still good. I mean, they put on a good show, man. I felt like the tricks that they did the previous time I saw them were a little bit more higher stakes than this time. Although I think 3 of them were the same. But, I mean, they always vary a little bit because they always have an audience participant and whatever. But, yeah, and they're pretty funny. So, they're getting old, man, but they're still out there doing it. Speaking of Las Vegas, because they have a residency in Vegas at, where are they at now? The Rio, maybe? I don't know. I forget. Big game, speaking of Las Vegas, at 4:30 p.m. Between St. John's and Iowa State at the Michelob Ultra Arena. I forget which casino is the Michelob Ultra at? I don't remember. I forget. Or maybe it's not even at a casino. I don't know. Whatever it is. Number 14, St. John's. Number 16, Iowa State. However, this is going to be a game where you're going to look at it, and the odds makers are telling you that the rankings makers are wrong about this one. The rankings makers have St. John's slightly better. The odds makers, however, say that Iowa State's a slightly better team. So, again, I always say you want to listen to the odds makers because they're the ones that have all the money at stake. Although their job isn't really to predict the winner. Their job is to split the action. But, if they favor a team, they are still saying that they think that team is more likely to win than the other team. Iowa State up from 2 to 2.5, 53% of the cash on them, 57% of tickets on St. John's. So the public is kind of coming in on St. John's. More of the smart money, I guess, plus the odds maker indicator is on Iowa State in this one. So I'm not going to disagree with Iowa State here. I think maybe the travel spot is a little bit better for Iowa State too, because St. John's, they have not left the Eastern time zone yet. Now they're having to go play this neutral site game. They did lose the only time they stepped up in class. They lost to Alabama. And it was, I believe, in Madison Square Garden. So a semi-home game for St. John's. That's not a great sign that they didn't step up well in class there. Although it was a close game, but still. They lost as a favorite in that game, which isn't great. I think Iowa State is better than Alabama. Ken Bum has Iowa State in the top 10. Iowa State, they do play somewhat fast, and we know St. John's plays even faster. St. John's, both of these teams are weird teams because they both play fast and they both play good defense and are better defensively than offensively, which is, it's odd, but that's just the way that it is. That's the way St. John's does it under...
Yeah, inside, I want to kill myself.
Under Rick Pitino. But yeah, I mean, I would lean to Iowa State in this game for the reasons I just said. St. John's, it's their first time leaving the time zone. For Iowa State, yeah, it's their first time leaving, I guess, the central time zone, but that's still an easier travel spot for them than coming from New York. So, yeah, that's the way I see this game. I think Iowa State is the right side there, but I don't really have a strong opinion on it. Iowa State did have one step-up game against Mississippi State. Mississippi State is obviously not as good as Alabama, but Mississippi State, decent team, and Iowa State was able to win that game. So, yeah, I mean, those are my thoughts on it. Well, I don't want to say obviously, but I think that is the case, though. Where does Ken Bum even have Mississippi State? He actually has Mississippi State fairly down this year. It's 70th in the country. So St. John's has faced the better opponent out of the two, but I still like Iowa State in that one. Temple and UC San Diego playing in Kissimmee, Florida in that tournament, whatever the hell it is. This is the one that has the most ridiculous name, the Terry's Chocolate ESPN Events Invitational. Sounds like one of those. I love the bowl names, and that's like one of those, Terry's Chocolate. Maybe they make some good chocolate, man. But they're hosting, I think, all the Kissimmee games here. Temple, the venue might be better for them because Temple is an Eastern time zone team, obviously. Temple, their biggest game was against BC, and they lost the game. UC San Diego, we know they made a name for themselves in the Big West the last couple of years, and they won the conference and made the tournament last year and gave Michigan a real scare in the tournament last year. I thought they should have won the game, really, against Michigan. UC San Diego, though, this year, they're not battle-tested yet, and they have not left the Pacific time zone yet, so that's a problem. They faced a weak schedule. Their most difficult game was a win at Fresno State. Now they're having to go to the Eastern time zone to do this. That makes it a pretty difficult spot for UC San Diego. I think the spot does set up better for Temple. Temple has actually moved to a favorite here from Pick'em to 2. Oddsmakers telling you Temple, not a terrible team, and or UC San Diego might be a little bit down this year. Yeah, UC San Diego was like in the top 30 by the end of the season last year in Ken Baum's rankings, but they're outside of the top 100 this year. So, and Ken Baum only has Temple 2 spots higher than them, but still, and they both play very similar mid-tempo styles, but mid-tempo, hey, there you go. But I think Temple is the right side in that one. The money is seemingly agreeing with that. 77% of tickets, 77% of tickets, 99% of the cash on Temple. Yeah, I would lean that way as well. Temple has a guy they call LeBron Frames. Awesome. With Rambus glasses, but he's not... Dude, everybody loves the Rambus glasses. We got a few of those guys, but he's not Robbie Avila, who is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, for whatever reason. Well, I guess because Abdul-Jabbar wore the glasses too, right? Somebody's got to find a name, but Rambus was already white, so you can't like make a white version of Rambus's name because he was already a white guy. So I don't know. I've got to come up with maybe some new names there because, well, I guess. Yeah, I mean, LeBron Frames, I don't know. I guess. It's definitely a funny name. It would be funnier, though. I think that would work better if the dude was like a black guy that was a similar player to LeBron or something, though. And then we have Meadow on Boise State, who I'm going to talk about next. These guys with the glasses, these guys with the goggles, man. Wait, what team were we talking? Oh, we're talking about Temple. Yeah, who do they have? I got to watch some Temple basketball then. Who's the guy with the glasses? Let me see. Can we see there he is. Gavin Griffiths. There you go. Holy crap, man. Oh, my God. Yeah. He's 6'7". Dude, to me, he looks like he would be taller than that and like a rebounder, but I'm seeing he doesn't have a good rebounding average. He's actually more of like a scorer. He's a guard, so yeah. But yeah, he scores in the double digits, man. He's got those glasses. Dude, I don't know if it's just like a glare or something. It looks like he's got, I don't know, like a lazy eye or something. That's crazy. All right, I'll have to check that guy out. All right. USC and Boise State playing in Maui out there at this Chaminade thing. This game, man, we're going to have a real contrasted styles here because USC likes to play fast. Boise likes to play slow. I don't know which one is going to win out, but USC is coming off that ugly game against Troy where they did not come close to covering. They almost lost. So, in a way, you could say, well, it's going to be good then for USC to just leave home, get out of there, and refocus because they had a huge scare there. So, that's the type of team I might like to play after that, but I don't really want to be on them after they played 3 overtimes, man. Playing 3 overtimes still could take a lot out of you, even though you had a huge scare in the game. For Boise, they had their scare, more than a scare, with that horrible loss to start the season, but they've been good since then, and they just got their best win of the season so far against Wichita. But problem with that is that, that's a pretty big win over Wichita. Wichita's been pretty good this year, although I know Boise was a big favorite, and they didn't cover. Boise was a 9.5-point favorite, so you could argue it was a scare for Boise. I don't know, though, man. I think you could argue that they're coming off a big game. Could be a little bit of a hangover. They're still going to pay attention to USC because this is a Big Ten team now that they're playing. It's still one of the big boys from one of the power conferences, even if they were still in the Pac-12. So I still think Boise will show up for that reason, although Boise does have time off here, which could disrupt their momentum a little bit. And this is going to be their first time, I think, leaving home, I want to say. I think they played all their games at home. USC has played one neutral site game, which was against Illinois State, but that was in California, Southern California, in Inglewood. So they really haven't traveled either. They haven't left Southern California either. So both teams kind of in a similar travel spot as far as that's concerned. USC is up to a 5.5-point favorite from 5. 62% of tickets, 92% of the cash on Boise, though. So the money coming back, taking the points with Boise. You know, I'm not really going to disagree with that because Boise getting points as a slowdown team like that, I don't know. It's somewhat tempting to look towards taking the points with Boise in that one, but not going to make that a play, obviously. Then we have the Cayman Islands thing going on yet again, the Cayman Islands Classic. Middle Tennessee and GW, who should not have changed their name from the Colonials. George Washington himself would be rolling in his grave due to all this woke BS. Middle Tennessee, they're coming off a big game where they upset Murray State in this Cayman Island thing. That was their first game in the Cayman Islands. Nice upset win, whereas George Washington took a loss to McNeese in the first game. I think those were the first games in the tournament. So George Washington, I can kind of see this one going both ways because you could argue that, well, George Washington's coming off a loss as a favorite. Middle Tennessee is pulling off an upset. So that means you want to look to George Washington to bounce back, whereas Middle Tennessee could be in a bit of a letdown. But that was also George Washington's first loss of the season, losing to McNeese. And they were only a 5.5-point favorite. And they might consider that to still be a big win because McNeese made the tournament the last 2 years. And remember, Will Wade built up that program, although they're going to McNeese is definitely going to be down from where they were the last 2 years because Wade left and whatever. Overall, I probably still like George Washington in this one to bounce back, but the money is actually disagreeing on that one. GW is an 11.5-point favorite, 73% of tickets on them, but 76% of the cash fading them. So that's the situation in that game. Don't want to do anything with it. We have Charleston and Evansville in the Virgin Islands thing. Whatever this thing is called, the Paradise Jam. This one, Evansville took a blowout loss in this tournament. Actually, they won. They pulled off an upset over Oregon State. Then they took the blowout loss to Akron. Kind of an embarrassing loss, though, just to lose by that, by that amount. Even though Akron is much, much better than Evansville. Maybe in line for a little bit of a bounce back here, Evansville, but they are pretty bad. They're going to be an underdog here to Charleston. Charleston, they're coming off playing a little bit more competitively against Yale. They played UMass and Yale already in this tournament, I think. So they've been more tested, but I think they're in a somewhat worse spot. They're only laying 4.5, so it doesn't look very tempting to take Evansville after they lost by like 40-something points to Akron or whatever, 38 points. I would probably take the points with Evansville in that one, though, but do I want to do it? Absolutely not. Going back to the Las Vegas, to the MGM Grand, number 2 Houston is playing against Syracuse. Syracuse, they're 4-0 to start the season, although they haven't played anybody yet, but they are coming off that scare against Monmouth, where that was why I faded Monmouth yesterday. Monmouth is 21.5-point underdogs. They were playing really well against Syracuse. They were in that game, like pretty late in the game, so Syracuse, maybe they were looking ahead. Syracuse is coming off a scare here, man, so in a way, should be a bit of a bounce back for Syracuse. You should expect them to focus here. Thing is, though, they're going from the Eastern time zone where they played all their games so far. I think they've been at home for all their games. Now, leaving the Eastern time zone, having to go to the Pacific time zone, sure, they're going to try to show up for Houston, but that's not that easy to do. Houston, more battle tested because they did have that win over Auburn. And in their last game, they had an easy win over Rider to help give them some momentum and ride that momentum coming into this one. For Houston, they might be looking ahead a little bit to playing Tennessee tomorrow. I think the look-ahead component is a lot bigger for Tennessee, though, because that's going to be a revenge game for Tennessee. But still, it is possible Houston is kind of looking past Syracuse a little bit here. Houston having to travel to Vegas will be a little bit easier for them. I think Houston has not left Texas yet. Although, wait a minute. Where was the RX benefits battle? Oh, no, this was... They beat Auburn in Alabama, actually. So that was like a semi-home game sort of for Auburn there, to some extent, in the RX benefits battleground. So Houston did leave to do that, but they have not been to the Pacific time zone yet. Tough game to read. I would probably take the points with take the points with Syracuse in this one. Houston is up from 11 to 14, 53% of tickets, 89% of the cash on Syracuse. So the money looks like it's coming in on Syracuse. I would agree. I mean, Houston, again, they're a team that you kind of want to like fade them as a big favorite because they play really, really slow. Total kind of indicating that the total's low, although it went up a little bit to 148 or whatever. But yeah, I mean, those are my thoughts on that. I would probably lean to Syracuse slightly in that one, taking the points. By the way, that Rutgers-Tennessee total is ugly low at 139.5. I didn't mention that. So that's another reason to maybe look towards taking the points in that one. I still have 3 more plays here, and I don't know where they are. The Notre Dame total, taking the points there, that's also low at 141. So there you go with that one. The Toledo game is going to tip off soon, by the way, and we're getting even less value on that number now, so hopefully people grabbed that while I was doing the show, because Toledo, they were 3.5, I think, when I gave them out, or maybe 3. What did I give them out at? I think it was 3. All right. What else did I want to talk about here? Ohio, I mean, they're coming off taking that upset, like I said, to Bethune-Cookman. Ohio put in a nice performance for us in the previous game against Louisville. So Ohio got us the cover there against Louisville. Coming off of that, maybe they're just in kind of a bad spot against Bethune-Cookman. Maybe they bounce back here against George Mason. George Mason, probably one of the better A-10 teams here, though. They're undefeated, but they haven't exactly been battle-tested yet. They haven't really faced anybody good yet. You know, I would probably lean to who are we talking about? Ohio. I would probably lean to Ohio in this one. But not a strong opinion at all. George Mason, 7-point favorite. Might get 7.5 on this. 67% of tickets, 77% of the cash on George Mason, but I would probably lean against it. George Mason, by the way, has some based economists that teach there. Just so you know. A lot of these games I don't really want to talk about. We get into the night games. We got a lot of games that are being hosted by the actual teams, so a lot of actual home games for some of these teams. Florida Gulf Coast is hosting Oral Roberts, but that's in that Fort Myers tournament, but Gulf Coast is the host of it in the Coconut Hoops. This is the Tarpon Bay division. Oral Roberts is coming off another step-up game against Oklahoma because Oral Roberts is in Oklahoma, so they always step up their game, or at least try to, for the big boys in Oklahoma. Oklahoma's a lot better than they are, though, so they lost by 24. They covered. They just got within the number, 24.5. Coming off that game, now they're going to travel down to Florida. I mean, it doesn't look that easy. I don't think they've played outside of the state of Oklahoma yet, so I don't think it's that easy for them. Gulf Coast is the home team here. Gulf Coast, though, they just went into Samford and pulled off a nice upset on the road at Samford. So that's in Alabama, I believe. So even though Florida Gulf Coast coming home from that, I still probably lean to Gulf Coast here, but it's not a strong opinion. They're up from from a 10-point favorite to an 11-point favorite. I would probably lay it, but yeah. Not Murray. Wait, did Murray Rothbard teach there? I don't know. I was thinking of Walter Williams and who was the other dude? Walter Williams, RIP, by the way. There are a couple of guys there who are they've been teaching at the school very recently. Bellarmine at the Citadel. I think this is literally at the Citadel. Bellarmine coming off that really nice performance against Notre Dame, man. So I do think they're in a fade spot after that. That was a huge game for them. They covered for us. They put in a big effort. And again, they were getting blown out, but they didn't go away. And they put in a big effort late to make that game close. So I think they're in a bad spot now, having to go down to the Citadel, even though this is part of the ASUN SoCon Conference Challenge here. The Citadel coming off a win to break a loss streak for them. They beat North Greenville, that non-Division I team, where North Greenville actually had a win against, who was it? I forget. They beat some Division I team where I was like, oh, that's embarrassing. And I went with that Division I team after that, but whatever. Citadel was able to beat that team, so that team's obviously not that good because the Citadel's not that good. But in this spot, I think the Citadel makes sense here. Bellarmine is up from a 2-point favorite to a 2.5-point favorite. I would take the points with the Citadel in that one, though. And maybe you get a little bit more value on it if the line increases a little bit more. NJIT is playing Cincinnati. I mean, Cincinnati's coming off their first loss of the season. It was a big game against Louisville. And they somewhat hung in that game. They only lost by 10. So I do think it's a pretty major hangover spot here. Although NJIT, as we know, sucks, as Jeffrey took my advice and laid the points with Drexel against them. And NJIT has been pretty bad. since then. They got blown out by Drexel. Their 3-1 start, like I said, was very misleading. NJIT is not good. Now they're on a 2-game slide, and they actually face Louisville next, although it's not like they're not going to be focused for Cincinnati, though. I mean, Cincinnati's still a big boy. I think NJIT is still going to try to step it up for them. So, I mean, I would probably lean to taking the points with NJIT in that one. You're getting 34 points, and the total is only 140, so it's looking like it's going to be an ugly, low-scoring game. So in a case like that, it does make more sense to take a huge amount of points. Cincinnati, though, interestingly, they play fast, but their offense is awful. Like, their offense is well outside of the top 100 at 167, but they have the second best defense, according to KenPom. Very, very weird. They're like extreme St. John's. Very, very crazy, and they play a fast tempo, but their offense is bad. Very, very strange style from some of these schools, man. Next up, we're going to give out a play here on Sacred Heart plus the points. Sacred Hat, which I forget where they're located. I think they're located in Connecticut, actually. So this is an in-state game, I believe. Let me see, because I think they did have a home game against Merchant Marine. Yeah, they're in Fairfield, Connecticut, it looks like. So Sacred Heart, I think the game's going to be a little bit bigger for them in this one against Central Connecticut. Central Connecticut, it looks like you're going to get even better on this. They're through the 3.5, headed towards 4. This is another low total game where I think it's going to be an ugly game where taking the points does make more sense. You know I'm not much of a fan of Central Connecticut. I mean, they're down from where they were last year. They're at 245th in KenPom's rankings. He has them 49th in luck, so he has them overperforming right now. And surprisingly, they actually play faster than you would think for a team that scores as terribly as they do. They're, again, one of those teams that isn't that slow. They are a mid-tempo team. Or no, I'm wrong. I was looking at the wrong line. My mistake. I was looking at the wrong line. But they are still pretty high in the luck index. So, yeah, Central Connecticut, that makes more sense. They play much slower. They're at 292 in tempo. They're actually good defensively at 111, but their offense is horrific at 344th in KenPom's rankings. So they're like a bottom 20 offense in all of college basketball, all of D1. That is not the profile of a team you want to be laying points with, man, in my opinion. Slow tempo, horrible offense team. Yeah, no. And Central Connecticut's also in a bad spot, which is why we're doing this. I'm not just going to fade them every time they're a favorite, but as we mentioned, they're coming off that massive upset over Rutgers. I think that's big for Central Connecticut, man. You beat a Big Ten team, and actually Rutgers was undefeated, but that was because they hadn't played anybody yet. 15.5-point upset. Big win for Central Connecticut. Like I said, Rutgers was horrible from the field in that game and lost the turnover battle. I know Central Connecticut did out-rebound them, but still, the rest of the numbers do indicate some outliers here. Rutgers, 36% from the field, 26% from 3. Central Connecticut, 43% from three-point range. They don't shoot that well from 3. There's going to be some regression here. And Central Connecticut's coming back home off of that upset, so could be a situation where they come back to campus and, everybody's praising them, celebrating them, because that was a huge game, man. They're big games. They won them both against BC and Rutgers. And I faded them off of the BC upset, and UMass was blowing them out, dude. They came back and covered against UMass, but I was angry about that. UMass was destroying them. I think UMass should have covered that. So Central Connecticut, they're back in a fade spot now. I think the Rutgers win was bigger in a way because Rutgers is just a bigger name than BC is in basketball at this point, because BC, well, not a bigger name, I don't want to say, but Rutgers has been the better team over the last few years. Let's just put it that way. Although BC is in New England, so that might have still been bigger for Central Connecticut. But either way, I don't like the spot here for them. Sacred Heart, I think they will step up for playing a team that's been better than them in the state of Connecticut. Sacred Heart, they're fairly battle-tested. I mean, they had to go on the road to face Duquesne, Villanova, and Queens. I don't know if all of them were true road games, but that's not that easy to do that. I mean, Queens is a decent team. At least we know Villanova, they're a Big East team. Villanova's better than Rutgers. I will say that. So Sacred Heart did play them. I know they got blown out in the game. And Duquesne is actually fairly good as well this year. So Sacred Heart, they're battle-tested, and what they did last game, I think, is a good sign. They beat Holy Cross, which is a team they should have beaten. Holy Cross isn't good. Sacred Heart got the win back at home. Nice win. Now I think that breaks that losing momentum, and now they can take that momentum out. And even though they have Penn State next, I do think Sacred Heart will focus on this game because, again, Central Connecticut has been kind of on the rise as one of these teams in Connecticut from one of the lower conferences, and nobody ever talks about Sacred Heart, who Sacred Heart, I think, was in Central Connecticut's conference for a while. And it might have been before Central Connecticut was even in it. I don't remember. But Sacred Heart moved up into the MAAC, but they have not been good in this conference. And Central Connecticut, meanwhile, has been like dominating the NEC. So I don't know. I think it's a bigger game for Sacred Heart. Taking the points there in that one. All right. Keeping it going, man. Man, these shows take forever. Princeton and Bradley playing in that chocolate tournament, whatever it is. Terry's Chocolates. Princeton at least staying on the East Coast. Bradley having to come in from Illinois. But Bradley had kind of a scare against UMass Lowell, man, which is why I wanted to fade UMass Lowell in the game off of that, which I think was a loss, if I'm remembering correctly, but whatever. Bradley, they got a scare in that game, so I think they will be kind of in bounce-back mode here. For Princeton, probably a little bit more battle-tested, though, because they played Akron, who was good. They played Kansas, both those being road games, and Iona's not that bad either. Princeton did, get a win to disrupt their losing momentum there with a win over Northeastern, but I don't know. To me, I think the bounce-back spot is better for Bradley. Bradley, I think, is actually the better team, which, yeah, the odds makers are telling you that. They're already up from 6 to 8, though. So it's gone through the key number of 7. You're losing some value there if you do like Bradley. 75% of tickets, 94% of the cash on Princeton, though. And the total is dropped. Princeton down, the total's down to 137.5. So low total, not really totally interested in laying the points, although I kind of lean towards Bradley there. All right. New Orleans at Mississippi State. I mean, Mississippi State could be somewhat in a bad spot because they did just play that Kansas City tournament where they didn't do well. They lost to Kansas State and New Mexico, but those were big step-up games. Now they're coming off of those games, and they do have to face SMU, Georgia Tech next. So this game is sandwiched in between bigger opponents, although it does at least mean Mississippi State's battle-tested. But as I showed you, they're not that good this year. New Orleans is somewhat battle-tested as well because they did win against TCU and lost badly to LSU, although those teams are not as good as the opponents that Mississippi State has faced. Obviously, Mississippi State's the better team, but New Orleans is very road-tested. They've been around. They're going to step up for an SEC game, so I lean to New Orleans in this one. Mississippi State's gone all the way up from 18.5 to 24.5. I don't know what spurred that line movement of 6 points. I mean, that's crazy. But I would probably come back and take it with New Orleans in that one. Now you're getting more a bigger number on it, too. Don't have a whole lot else to say about it. Murray State at McNeese. Murray State just took an upset loss to Middle Tennessee, or not at McNeese. This is in the Cayman Islands Classic. McNeese, they just pulled off an upset of their own against GW, so I kind of lean to Murray State here, man. McNeese is down from a 2.5-point favorite to a 2-point favorite, but so Osweiger's telling you they're slightly better than Murray State, but Murray State coming off getting upset. I would lean towards them. It looks like the money is coming in that way, whereas McNeese pulled off an upset themselves, so that's what I would do there. Not going to be a play for me, though. Illinois playing Rio Grande Valley. Illinois, you could argue they're in a look-ahead spot because they do have UConn and Tennessee coming up next. UConn is the more that game is upcoming shortly, let's just say, in 4 days. So it could be a look-ahead spot for Illinois. Illinois bounced back nicely from their loss to Alabama, though they blew out Long Island. So they do at least have some momentum coming into this one. Rio Grande Valley, they're a team that can kind of sneak up on some teams. They're not that horrible. At least they weren't last year. I gave them out as a play last year. At one point, I remember they almost won the game outright as a huge underdog against Wisconsin. That was a win for me that I remember from last year's season. It was a horrible spot for Wisconsin, obviously, which is why I did it. But for Rio Grande Valley, this is going to be their biggest game left on the entire season, I think. So I think they will try to step it up for this game. Will they have enough? I don't know, because obviously they're going to be a huge underdog. Illinois is up to 34 here, but I would probably lean towards taking the points with Rio Grande, even though I think both teams do actually play fast too. So that does make it maybe a little bit more. Yeah, both teams play fast. Might make it a little bit easier for a team to cover a large number like that, but still, I just think the spot's not very good for Illinois. Going back to Las Vegas here, man, the show is going to take for fucking ever. All right. It takes a lot out of me, man. Oregon and Auburn, holy shit, there are so many games. And I'm not even talking about every single one of them. A lot of big games today, though. This is not at Auburn, though. This is in Las Vegas, like I said, at the Michelob Ultra Arena. Auburn's ranked 22nd in the country. Oregon has not looked good so far, man, so I do kind of worry about that. The fact that they barely beat Hawaii, barely beat Rice, didn't cover, I don't think, against South Dakota State either. I took 2 losses on the show in those games. And they're coming off their rivalry win over Oregon State, which, of course, Oregon is the better of those two teams. Will they be in a letdown off of that? I kind of don't think so, though, because they are looking at Auburn here, and you're going to step up your game to face Auburn. Auburn coming off that blowout win where we took a loss on that one with Jackson State, because Auburn was coming off that really difficult game against Houston. I thought they were in a bad spot, especially with Oregon coming up next, but they were able to win that game, continue their momentum. As far as Auburn is concerned, though, the location I don't think is quite as good for them as they're having to come in from Alabama. They have not left the state of Alabama this year, I don't believe. And Oregon, I don't think they've left Oregon, but still they're at least in the Pacific time zone. So I think the location is better for Oregon. The money is coming in on the Oregon side. I'm not going to disagree with it. I worry because they've looked really ugly this year, but Auburn down from 5 to 2.5 here. So the money is strongly coming in on Oregon. 54% of the tickets are on Auburn, 72% of the cash on Oregon. If you do like Oregon, I don't know, man. I mean, it looks like you've kind of missed the boat on the best numbers there. I mean, you could still take the points with them, but definitely lost some value on that. And then in the Virgin Islands, whatever this one is, Paradise Jam, Yale and Akron in the winner's circle here. Both of these teams have won both of their games so far. Yale barely escaping against Green Bay and then getting a nice win over Charleston, who is a better team than Green Bay. Akron's been good as well here, but they played Evansville in their last game. Got a blowout, easy win there. Beating Iona the game before that, a more impressive win there. Although I think Yale, well, I don't know, man. I mean, Yale didn't look good against Green Bay, but then Yale beat Charleston. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, in this game, I guess you want to just default to the better team, and I think that is Akron. I mean, the odds makers are telling you that that's the case, so they're only a 1.5-point favorite. 93% of tickets, 99% of the cash on Akron. Akron kind of goes a bit under the radar because Yale keeps winning the Ivy League, I think. So, I mean, I know that they have. They've won it the last couple of years, but Akron, I mean, they've won the MAC a couple of recent years too, though, and they just seem to get overlooked. So I don't know. Probably lean to Akron in that one, but I don't love it. You like Jackson State against Auburn? Jackson State, they're not covering, man. They just can't. I don't know. They seem to not be able to step up their game against stronger opponents. I think they're going to be good in their conference, though, like last year. Although they didn't win the conference, they were in the mix there. All right, next up, I'm going to give out a play here on Northern Arizona plus the points. I think it's about 3.5 here. Actually, it already dropped to 2. It was 3.5 when I started doing the show, though, man. I would still probably take it. Cal Poly's not in a good spot here. They're down from 2.5 to 2 here now. I swear it was 3.5 when I looked at this, like, I don't know, about an hour ago. 83% of tickets, 96% of the cash on Northern Arizona. So the money is coming in on the Northern Arizona side. I don't think this is a game the public is involved in at all. So that's why it looks like the public ticket percentage is there too. But where was I looking here? That Troy-Toledo game has begun, by the way. All right. But yeah, the money is coming in on Northern Arizona. I think with the ticket percentage being heavy, it means less. Like, it doesn't mean the public is all over this game just because I don't think they're playing the game at all. So I think a lot of those tickets that are factored into that ticket percentage are professional tickets. And then you still see that the money is more heavily on that side. Bad spot for Cal Poly, which is why I'm doing this. This game is a true road game for them. So, I mean, I know they've played true road games almost all year, but look at what they've done recently, man. They had that game against Montana where they probably should have covered but didn't, and that was after coming out of Colorado State, after they upset Seattle out on the road, and they had to play at USC to start the season. They got blown out in that game, but they played competitively against Colorado State in elevation, up to Montana, which I think is still also in high elevation. Should have covered, but didn't. Then they went back down into the true Rocky Mountain states, if you want to call them that, to Utah, to higher elevation again. And they won that game outright. And this is why I'm fading them, man. They were 14.5-point favorites here. They dealt Utah their first loss of the season. Utah's not great, but they're still a big name. They're still in the Big 12 or whatever. Big win for Cal Poly, man. And they pretty much left no doubt, and they dominated this game. Look at what happened in this game, though. Cal Poly was 50% from the field and 56% from three. I know they out-rebounded them and lost the turnover battle and still won, and those are more indicators that you would want to look towards Cal Poly, but still, those are outlier shooting percentages, man, especially 56% from three. Utah kind of shot more average in the game. So I think it is a big letdown spot and a regression spot for Cal Poly. I don't really know how much they're going to have in the tank and how much focus they're going to have on Northern Arizona. And then after this, they got to face SEMO, which I know isn't a big deal, although SEMO has been one of the better teams in their conference for a while. But this is a tournament game, and it is tomorrow. Although, actually, well, I shouldn't say it like that. Like, these games are both in the same tournament, so let's just put it that way. So I guess I don't want to say it's really a look ahead, although SEMO has been one of the better teams in their conference for a while. But this is a tournament of some kind that's actually being hosted by Northern Arizona, because they are, I believe it is, because they are in Flagstaff. I think I'm right about that. Whatever the case may be, I think it's a huge letdown spot for Cal Poly. For Northern Arizona, they faced a pretty difficult schedule. I mean, they faced Drake and they played them close, and then they lost in a blowout at Arizona. But we know Arizona's one of the better teams in the entire country, so they were just mismatched in the game. Northern Arizona, their only wins so far were against non-Division I teams, sure, but again, their two Division I opponents were not easy opponents to face. So this is actually the weakest of the Division I opponents they've faced so far. And the other thing is, I think Northern Arizona can frustrate Cal Poly, because Cal Poly, they're the second ranked team in tempo in the entire country, and Northern Arizona likes to play slow, so Cal Poly might be thrown off in this game, man. So that's another thing I do not like about Cal Poly. They're also 38th in KenPom's rankings in luck, so that's not good. Northern Arizona plays a lot slower at 216th, and they're way lower in the luck index at 348th in luck. Yet KenPom also has them with the 8th strength of schedule in the entire nation. So a lot of things that I like about KenPom's rankings here, as far as like fading a huge luck dichotomy here. Northern Arizona, way down in the luck index. And, a tempo disparity, getting points with a slower paced team. I like that. They might frustrate Cal Poly by slowing them down. And yeah, that's about it, man. And Cal Poly in the letdown spot. So, that's all I have to say about it. I was just making sure that I was right about Drake being better than Cal Poly and KenPom's rankings, which they are. All right. Radford is going to SMU. SMU could be a little bit of a look ahead because they got Mississippi State, Vandy, Texas A&M, and LSU all up next. They're playing 4 straight SEC teams for whatever reason. SMU's undefeated, but their best win so far is against Butler, not Baylor. Worse than Baylor, Butler. So SMU's pretty untested right now, and it is a look ahead. Radford is the more tested team as they played North Carolina. Didn't play that badly against, so they did get blown out at South Carolina, though, who are a lot worse than North Carolina. But Radford, I mean, for some reason, they just lost games where they kind of should have won, like against Wright State, Cleveland State. I think they were favorites in both of those games and lost them both. So I think this Radford team, they're underperforming right now, and they might show up for this one. So I would lean towards Radford. You're getting a lot of points. SMU's up from 23 to 23.5. I would take the points with Radford there if I was going to do it. All right. I do have, I think, one more play in the mix here somewhere. Actually, no, I think I might have 2. All right, what else did I want to talk about? Loyola Marymount having to go to Florida Atlantic here in Daytona Beach. So it's not being hosted by FAU, but it is in Florida. And Loyola Marymount hasn't left. The only time they left the Pacific time zone was to go to UTEP, to El Paso. So they have not gone further east than El Paso all season. So, and they're coming off a nice win on the road, an upset win over UC Santa Barbara. A nice win for Loyola Marymount that I think was also in overtime. So the spot doesn't look great to me, having to go all the way out east after that win. Florida Atlantic is already out here on the East Coast, obviously, because that's where they are. Coming out off a blowout win over Pacific, which, Pacific, they were in another one of those spots where they're a West Coast team and they had to go all the way east, and they did not do well. So, yeah, the way that I would look at that is Florida Atlantic. I would lean towards them. They're up from 2.5 to 4. I would lay it with them, even though Loyola Marymount looks like they're going to be decent in their conference this year, but it is just not the spot where you want to look towards Loyola there, Loyola Marymount. Oh, yeah, we should start talking about Thanksgiving because it's Thanksgiving week. I kind of want to do that on a lighter day, though. Maybe Thanksgiving morning, maybe we'll do it because we'll have to talk about the football games, and I think there's going to be a lot less of a card that day, although I think there is a college football game usually now on Thanksgiving, I think, but maybe we'll talk about it then. We'll see. One of the lighter days we'll do it, which hopefully are coming up soon. The answer is yes, although not the escarole soup, finocchio salad, Pinocchio, what? Ravioli, yes. I mean, but usually it's not any of those. And so when we do that, it's a double Thanksgiving because the main Thanksgiving that we do tends to be with my dad's side of the family, which is not the Italian side, and that's like a traditional New England Thanksgiving, which I think gets a really bad rap. It gets a bad rap from people that aren't from New England because, man, like, I don't understand what, like, people don't like it. Like, there's a reason why you only eat turkey once a year, man. It's because it's bad. No, it's because it's difficult to prepare. Like, it takes a long time to prepare it. Turkey's not bad. Turkey's got a lot of flavor. So we do the traditional thing. We do a whole roast turkey. My brother-in-law has been the one to do the turkey the last few years now. It's shifted, man, because my grandmother on that side used to do it. She is no longer with us as of a long time ago, like since I was in high school, and my mom took over for a while. Now my brother-in-law is the dude that does the turkey. Now, he does it really well, man. He knows how to season it. We get the crisp skin on it, too. I always eat, like, the legs and stuff, too. Black Santa Claus, what's up, my man? Although you changed your profile picture. What's going on? Do what the fuck you want to do. I did give out Toledo. You got to follow my Instagram, man, because Toledo is already in play. I did give out Rutgers as well, but that's not until 1 p.m. Rutgers plus the points is the next one up. I'm going to reiterate those at the end of the show, too, though. But the only one is Toledo. So I apologize, man. I didn't realize that there were going to be games this early, too. So that's the one that I gave out early. Toledo plus the 3 or whatever. As far as the Italian, I don't want to take too long talking about this food, although, yeah. So what I was going to say is, so we do the traditional Thanksgiving. We have roast turkey, gravy, obviously, stuffing, all the things, man. Cranberry sauce, which we do both cranberry sauces because my dad likes the canned cranberry sauce. My dad doesn't eat a whole lot of things, man. My dad, his palate is so bland, man. It's very unfortunate. It's sad. He kind of just he likes turkey, but he just kind of likes the plain. Oh, wait, does he even eat? I might be getting that wrong. He might not even eat turkey. I'm trying to remember. He eats some plain. He eats really, really plain meat. Like maybe it is turkey. I don't know. I don't even know what he does. It's either turkey or chicken. I don't even know what he's eating. But he's some weird outlier, man. But he prefers the canned. I do not. I disagree with you on that. I like the canned is gross, dude. It's just, like it forms into the shape of the can. It's bad. Like it's not that good. A lot of it just has bad ingredients in it too. It's highly processed. Absolutely not. Homemade is better. You know what ingredients you're getting in it is way better. You can make it more tart. Get the actual cranberries in it. Put some orange zest in it. Really, really good. I like that way better. So we do both, and I usually actually eat a little bit of both, but because I can't help myself, I got to eat everything. And then we have mashed potatoes, of course, with the gravy. My mom usually does the mashed potatoes. They're good. And then, like them creamy. And then we usually have, depending on, like, the other sides can kind of, like, rotate around. Like, you need those things, but the other stuff can kind of change depending on the year, I guess. Sometimes we have corn. Sometimes we have carrots. Sometimes we have both. My sister sometimes will do these carrots that are, like, these, like, brown sugar, cinnamon carrots, whatever they are. Really good, actually. Some, like, kind of sweet carrots. Those are good. Sometimes she and or her husband do, like a sweet potato dish with some, like, cinnamon and butter in that. That's good as well. Sometimes they'll do, like, a squash instead of that. Which that's a New England thing as well. Different types of squash. Like the butternut squash is what you want to do for the for Thanksgiving. Sometimes they'll do some things with a I forget what they call it. It's like this small, like, white pumpkin. I don't remember what it is, but sometimes they use that too, and they make like almost like a squash dish out of that. Or sometimes they'll make like a dessert with it as well. And the desserts, I mean, you got to mix it up a little bit, but you got to have like pumpkin pie, although I'm like one of the only ones, even in my family, like I like pumpkin pie way more than everybody else does. So I don't know. And then like my dad only likes pumpkin bread and not pumpkin pie, which is also odd because they're the same flavor. So maybe it's just a texture thing. I don't know. But I like the pumpkin pie. I think you got to have, we always have some apple thing, either apple pie or some like apple crumble thing that my sister and her brother-in-law might do. They do a lot of the food, man. Like I'm not really a cook. I know how to season things. I can mostly just help out during like prep time and whatever, and of course with the eating and judging the food. But that's like usually that's what we do. It's that's the Thanksgiving that's usually like with my dad's side and whatever. When we did like the 2 Thanksgivings, which sometimes happens. I don't know if it's gonna happen. Probably not happening this year, but I don't know. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we don't. We'll go to my mother's side, either like that evening even or like the next day, like depending on how it all works out. And that has more Italian food in it because that's the Italian side. But they usually do like a traditional thing too with like the turkey and stuff, but they usually have a bunch of Italian dishes too. But it's usually like lasagna, pasta, meatballs, like very standard, that type of thing. Usually there's probably like some... I think there's usually one like dish with like a white sauce, like an Alfredo type of thing. But yeah, usually it's all that. Was my dad a brainiac? Not exactly the same as I was. He was also valedictorian, just like I was, although he was it was of a much smaller class. He did well in school, and he was very, very like numbers focused, kind of like I am math. Like he's an accountant, so he does a lot of stuff with math and with numbers. He was always like way better on that side of things, the logical side of things, math, maybe science. I don't know, whatever. I don't know exactly, but my dad was he was kind of a jock though in a way too, though, which I was not. Like my dad played sports. My dad is tall. I'm not. Like my dad was tall back then. He hasn't gained that much more height. He was like almost 6 feet tall in high school, and he was a pitcher. And all he did was go out there and throw fastballs, and he threw some of the harder fastballs like in the area just because he was taller than everybody like at that age, and people just couldn't hit his fastball, and they got intimidated by it and by his height. Although he didn't play like beyond high school, and I think he might have played basketball as well. I know he was in like some like he did play basketball for a while, like when I was younger, and like I think he was was he in like a church rec league? I want to say, I don't know, something like that. He played a little bit of basketball as well, and he wore like kind of goggles too because he wears glasses, so he had like ones like, if I remember correctly, he had ones with like at least he had like a strap so that they wouldn't fall off of his head. Playing basketball, so he was not exactly like me. I was actually better at the social aspect of high school than he was, I would say. So yeah, I don't know what else to say about that, but I was kind of a social chameleon. I hung out with a lot of different crowds. I was in the music space, which he was not. So I was a singer, and then I hung out with the band people a lot, and I also was in bands, like garage bands and stuff. So some of the guys in the marching band were in those bands with me, so I hung out with the marching band through them. A lot of those guys were in some of my classes as well. I don't know, I kind of knew everybody. I hung out with the band geeks. I hung out with some of the people that were in my classes, but I also, could definitely get along with some of the, like the outcast types that were listening to like grunge and stuff like that back in the day and whatever. Although that was more elementary school for me, but still, I got along with those people too for whatever reason. And I guess it was more emo goth getting into high school a little bit, but yeah, you know what I mean. What are we talking about? A D-pop? I don't know what we're talking about. What does that even mean? My dad's father was pretty harsh. I mean, my grandfather on that side, he was in the military, although he was a mechanic in the Korean War, I believe. I believe he was stationed in the Philippines for quite a bit, but he was like a farm boy, like a farmer. Although when he grew up, he was a mechanic, though. Like even after he was in my dad's father, I'm talking about, after he was out of the military and whatever, he was a mechanic for like the rest of his life. But a garage door at the garage that he worked at as like a car mechanic like fell on his back. So he broke his back with a garage door falling on him, and he also ruptured his spleen falling on like some jagged piece of like a junked vehicle or something and impaled his spleen. So then he lived the rest of his life without a spleen. It's crazy. Yeah, this is all crazy stuff, dude. My dad's father. And then after that, he was a mechanic for like the entire time that I knew him. He would mostly fix like lawnmowers and stuff like that. That was kind of he became like the lawnmower man, not the movie, but that was like his thing. Yeah. And then, he had like a bunch of heart issues, which eventually is what got him, unless it was his second wife who had a string of all of her husbands die. So I don't know, maybe there's something suspicious about that because she was evil and like basically wound up taking all of his money, although he didn't have much. I mean, very modest lifestyle, but yeah, I mean, he basically was fixing like lawnmowers, like basically up until pretty much up until the end of his life. He lived like into his 80s. So yeah, your dad's a mechanic. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, man. All right, let's finish this off, man. I don't want this video to go that long. We have more college basketball here. I have a couple of games to talk about still here in these late games. We'll talk about, we do have, the Maui stuff. Chaminade is hosting all this crap. I don't know if I have a whole lot to say about the rest of those games, but I'm going to give out a play. Gonzaga, Alabama. Let's do this. We're going to lay the 4 with Gonzaga. So I'll give you some action in a couple of these big Vegas games late night for you. This one's on TNT. Of course, right away you see that we have the lesser ranked team, Gonzaga, 13th in the country, favored over number 11 Alabama. So the odds makers are telling you Gonzaga is actually not the lesser team than Alabama. Although this is probably also a venue that is better for Gonzaga because they're a West Coast team. So Alabama's having to go out there, which is also not good for Alabama, which I'll talk about in a minute. That is part of the handicap. Alabama, Ken Pom has them at 17th in the country. Both of these teams are very fast tempo, especially Alabama, but Gonzaga pretty much right behind them. So this is going to be a fast-paced game. So I wouldn't disagree with an over in this game either, but the total's up to 177.5, but it looks so high that it's like nobody's going to want to play that, but I still probably would lean over in this game, but I like the Gonzaga side because I don't do much with totals. Up from 3.5 to 4.5 now, so you probably have to get on that sooner. Alabama looks public, 69% of the tickets. I think they're going to be a public underdog by the time the game tips off, even though right now I see 75% of the cash on them. I don't know if that's going to wind up still being the case by the time the game goes off. Ken Pom's got Gonzaga legit, dude. Like, he's had them in the top 5, like, all season, and they're number 3 right now. They're the much better defense as well. So Gonzaga, they can match Alabama offensively pretty much. Both teams in the top 10 in Ken Pom's offensive efficiency rankings, but he's got Gonzaga 5th defensively as well, which is not something I'm used to seeing. And Alabama 37th, which is something I'm more used to seeing. So Ken Bum's got some things that are basically telling you, that Gonzaga is the more well-rounded team right now. And I think the spot is not that good for Alabama, even though, yes, they're battle-tested. But you can be battle-tested, but if it means you're coming off a huge string of games like this, that's not that great, man. They played St. John's. They won that game at St. John's or in Madison Square Garden. Came back and lost to Purdue. I gave up Purdue as a winner in that one. That was Alabama at home against Purdue as well. And then Alabama had to face Illinois up in Illinois in Chicago. And Illinois was not able to get it done for us on the show. So I thought Alabama was going to run into it there because they were coming off a big game. But now they're coming off multiple big games and now having to travel to the Pacific Coast for the first time. I think there is going to be a bigger Gonzaga contingent out there in that game because of the location. So I don't like it, man. Alabama coming off that string of big games. And Gonzaga is actually, as Ken Bum has Gonzaga ranked, I think, definitely better than St. John's. He has them better than Illinois, too. And the only team that Ken Bum has ranked better than Gonzaga is Purdue, and that's the team that Alabama lost to. So when Alabama's played these absolute upper echelon teams, although I know they beat Illinois, who's not far behind them there, not far behind those other teams there, but still, they haven't fared that well. And for Gonzaga, easier spot for them. I know they're not as battle-tested. I get it. Gonzaga did crush Oklahoma and Creighton at home. Those are their big wins. In a tough spot, they went down to Arizona State and still won that game by double digits, so that's pretty good for them. And then off of that, they scored 122 points against an awful Southern Utah team, and that's what they're coming off of. And normally I'm not going to want to play on a team that scored 122 points, but I just think it sets up a lot better for the Zags here, man. I know they've had a week off, so you could argue it's going to disrupt their momentum, but I think they're going to show up for this game against Alabama, man. And yeah, Alabama, again, I know they played a little bit more recently, but they've still had almost as many days off. So yeah, Gonzaga is the play in that one. All right. Then we do have Denver and Arizona. I called it, dude, with Denver. I should have given it out as a play. Denver upset Colorado State in their last game, and that was a big game for Denver, upsetting one of the bigger brothers in the state of Colorado, beating Colorado State on the road. I don't know that they're going to have much left in the tank, man, here against Arizona, even though, yes, it is a big game. It is their biggest game on the schedule as far as how good their opponent is, but I think they're going to be up against it here, man, in the Wildcat Classic. So this is going to be Arizona, I believe, hosting this thing. The problem that I have with Arizona, though, of course, is that Arizona could be in a letdown spot, too, because they're coming off two huge wins against UCLA and then going to Storrs, Connecticut, to UConn's actual home arena, the most difficult arena to play in amongst UConn's arenas there. And Arizona pulled off the outright upset there over UConn. So it's a bad spot for Arizona, man, and now having to come back out west from that. I mean, it's an awful spot for both teams, so there's no way that I could do anything with the game. I would actually probably kind of prefer the over. Toledo's up right now, man, so hopefully they continue to do that. Arizona's got 80% of tickets, 99% of the cash on them right now. They're up to 33.5. I mean, I don't love the side either way. I mean, in this game, because Arizona probably just has bigger things on the horizon, and they're coming off such a big win over UConn, probably taking the points with Denver still makes sense, even though they're coming off a huge win themselves. But I actually prefer the over, even though the total's down from 158.5 to 153.5. Arizona does still play fast, man. And with both teams coming off huge performances, you might see some defensive lapses in that game and maybe some easy transition buckets off of turnovers because the teams lack focus and whatever. So that's kind of what I see in that game. You got the win with Denver. Hell yeah. I did not make that one of my strongest opinions, though. Last game, I'm going to give out a play here on San Diego State plus the 7 against Michigan. Michigan ranks 7th in the country. It's going to look pretty easy to lay those points with Michigan, man. But I do not agree with it. Michigan's already down to 5.5, so again, I apologize, man. The 7 was out there this morning. I would still probably do it, even though 7 is key. We got a low total at 148 here. 63% of tickets, 69% of the cash on San Diego State. I'm hoping that the line comes back up a little bit so you can get a better line on San Diego State before the game tips off. But I would still probably do it. You can probably still get about 6 on this right now, so I'd probably still do that. I don't like the spot for Michigan, and plus, it's a low total, and we know San Diego State, they like to play slow and focus on defense and grind you. Even though Ken Pom has them, not great at 42nd in the country, but he's got them 18th defensively and low tempo like they usually are, and one of the least lucky teams in the country at 356. So he has them bottom 10 in luck right now, which means that San Diego State is underperforming right now. So I like all that, and again, that's a good team, that's a good spot to take a team. You want to take a team that profiles like that as an underdog. Slow pace, defense oriented. They're coming off that game against Troy where they lost the game in double overtime. Ugly loss for San Diego State, man. Inexplicable loss to a huge favorite. Maybe they weren't paying attention. Maybe they were already looking ahead to this, but I think this sets up a nice spot for them to bounce back. They've had almost a week off, so the extra overtimes there probably shouldn't affect them that much. So I like them here, man. From Michigan coming into this one. Michigan, I know they're coming off a pretty easy win over Middle Tennessee, but Michigan, they haven't go out to the Pacific time zone for the first time. And they just haven't been good stepping up in class so far. I mean, Wake Forest took them to overtime in wherever the hell this game was. Where was it? It was in Detroit, so it was like a semi-home game for Michigan. And they almost lost. And then they went down to TCU. The only time that Michigan has really left, I think the only time they've left the state of Michigan, or had up until that point. And they almost lost to TCU as well, barely getting by them. Then they did bounce back nicely against Middle Tennessee, sure. This was in Ann Arbor, though. So Michigan, again, this is going to be only the second time they've left the state of Michigan, and the other time they certainly did not cover. So they have not stepped up well in class, man. So I like San Diego State in this one. Ken Pom does have Michigan as a faster-paced team at 52nd, but he has them way high in the luck index, so a huge luck disparity here. 16th in the country in luck, so they're expected to regress a little bit. Like, they have not been playing as well as their record looks, is basically what that tells you. They're also 6th defensively, so they play really good defense, but they're only 43rd offensively, so they're not as good, so that makes them less likely to blow an opponent out, which we've seen has been the case so far. They've played some fairly low-scoring games, man, where they haven't covered as big favorites. So again, it's going to be a defensive battle, defensive-oriented game. I think San Diego State is going to have more of the ability to slow this thing down. And again, it's in Las Vegas, so I think San Diego State's going to have more of a contingent showing up there, coming up from Southern California. And it's in their time zone, so it's a lot easier for them to make that travel. So San Diego State plus the points. That's it for college basketball, finally, as far as my plays. I don't know if I was going to talk about any of the other games. Man, this video's taken a while. What else do we have to finish it off? We do have Arizona State and Texas. I mean, that's a pretty big game on ESPN2 in Maui. So these teams are having to go out to Maui. However, it's interesting because Texas, they're coming off some easy wins. They've had an easy schedule, except they lost to Duke in their opener. But other than that, they've faced a bunch of cupcakes. Now they're having to go out to Hawaii. I don't love it for Texas here because the thing about Arizona State right now is Arizona State already played at Hawaii. So they're already in Hawaii, although it's not the same arena because this is in Maui. So this is going to be on a different island. This is at Chaminade, but they already played in Hawaii, which is in Honolulu, I think, on Oahu. Yeah. So they're already in the Hawaiian time zone and already in Hawaii. So they're just traveling to another Hawaiian island here. So I think it sets up a lot better for Arizona State since they're already out there. So I prefer Arizona State in that one. I thought that was just a weird situation there that Arizona State was already in the other Hawaii tournament, and now they're just staying out there because they're playing in both. Texas is a 7-point favorite, 57% of the tickets, 91% of the cash on them, but I would take the points with Arizona State there. As far as Texas is concerned, they're also kind of a slower-paced defensive team. So, and then UNLV is playing Maryland out there in Las Vegas. It's not at UNLV's home arena, the Thomas and Mack, but they're still in their own city. So it's a semi-home for UNLV. So they obviously have a bit of an advantage there. And Maryland is having to go out to the Pacific Coast, so that's not easy. And they're going to play Gonzaga tomorrow. That's not easy either. I know Maryland's coming off that game against Mount St. Mary's where they almost lost, and I thought Maryland might actually step it up in that game. Saab got that one right. I agreed with Saab. I just didn't think it was strong enough because Maryland lost their best player to injury against Marquette, so I thought it was an injured player spot for them. Thought that might cause them to step up their game a little bit. They almost lost, so in a way you could argue it's going to be a bounce back for them here, and that the injured player spot will now come in this game, but I can't see it, man. I mean, they're going to the Pacific Coast time, or Pacific time zone, excuse me, again, like I said. Bigger game up after this, too. It's going to be difficult for them. I mean, they haven't gone further west than Marquette so far, even though they did pull off the upset in that one. That was back when they still had their best player. UNLV literally just staying in their own city. It's a lot. I think the spot is a lot better for UNLV. Maryland is public, 71% of tickets, 87% of the cash, up from 2-2 with juice, but I would probably take the points in that one with UNLV. All right, let's get to the rest of the stuff here. We got hockey. I'm going to give out 2 hockey plays here. Toledo with the lead right now still, so let's keep it going, baby. I apologize, that I do this show not early enough. I gave it out I gave out that play on Instagram before I started the show and before the and on this show before the game started, at least. So follow me on Instagram. Learn to Toad on Instagram. NHL, Philadelphia at Tampa Bay is the first game up. Philadelphia coming off a win over New Jersey. I mean, that's a big game. Philadelphia, New Jersey. They have that fan base that's kind of split in the state of New Jersey. That's a big win for them, and New Jersey's been good. Could be a bit of a letdown spot here going to Tampa Bay, and they do have to face Florida next. So not really an ideal spot for Philadelphia. They might look ahead to the back-to-back returning champs. Florida's coming off, or excuse me, is this Florida? No, this is not Florida. This is Tampa Bay. What am I saying? Florida's playing as well tonight, but I'll get to that in a minute. Tampa Bay coming off beating Washington and Edmonton and New Jersey, though, so they're coming off a slew of wins, like 3 big wins in a row, so I don't really love Tampa Bay here either. Money is disagreeing with Tampa Bay. 89% of tickets, only 50% of the cash on Tampa. They're down from -175 to -173. I still kind of prefer Tampa Bay in this game, but there's no way that I want to give that out as a play with the market read looking totally opposite it. I mean, I know sometimes I will just fade the market, but I'm not going to do it there. Detroit at New Jersey. Detroit, they're coming off beating Columbus in overtime, and now they're going a 1-game road trip to New Jersey, but I expect them to be focused for a game against a really good New Jersey team. New Jersey, don't know what the Hughes situation is. Like, what's his injury update? I don't even know. Like, if and when he's coming back, I have no idea, but he hasn't come back yet, obviously. I think he's going to be out for a while. So New Jersey's playing without him, and they haven't been as good without him, that's for sure. So I guess there is something to be said for that. When it's your best player who's injured, maybe it does have an effect. New Jersey's lost 3 games in a row. They've lost every game but one. They won in that injured player spot-ish, if you want to call it that, the first game without him. They've lost every game since then, but they were all on the road. Tampa Bay, Florida, those are not bad teams, and they did get crushed by Philadelphia in that last game. But now New Jersey's returning home from a road trip, so that is a bad spot. I keep talking about that. How teams, when they return home from road trips, they've been away for a while. In this case, they've been away since November 12th. They lost Hughes during the road trip. Sometimes they just have a bad game coming back home, man. Maybe they'll focus because it is Detroit, and Detroit's been good, so that is kind of my one issue with maybe wanting to do a fade New Jersey here. I think it might be a focus spot for Detroit, though. So I kind of like Detroit in that one, but the money is saying otherwise. New Jersey's down from -145 to -132. But Detroit, 77% of tickets, 53% of the cash on them. Although because the money did move against New Jersey, the money line did. Maybe those percentages are not accurate right now. Because I would lean to Detroit in this one. I would take them as the underdog in the New Jersey return home spot there. And maybe coming back home for the first time without Hughes, maybe they're a bit deflated there. Because professional bettors think teams will bounce back when they come back home, but a lot of times that is not the case. Like, the return home spot is difficult. Although New Jersey is 7-0-1 at home, so I don't know if I am, really jumping out of my seat to fade that. You know what I will do, though? which I forgot to talk. I forgot to bring out the graphic for the best bet segment. We're going to play the same team that treated us well the other day. Let me get this into the system here. Let me see what the number is that I have on it. You already know what it is based on me saying that. It's going to be St. Louis plus 120. We're going to go with it. We're going to take the Blues. This is my favorite play of the night. And, of course, I'm fading the Rangers in Madison Square Garden. Of course I am. This is my favorite of the day probably in hockey. The Rangers, they're returning home from a road trip. I know it was a shorter road trip, if you even want to call it that, duration-wise it was. But they went out to the Pacific time zone to Vegas, then they went into Elevation, Colorado, Utah, New York. The Rangers, the Road Warriors, did lose all 3 of those games, though, even though they've been better on the road. Those are difficult games, man, and now they're coming back home. I think the public is going to think they're going to bounce back at home. But as we've pointed out many times on the show, the Rangers are atrocious at home. 1-7-1 at home, and they've had, I think, 5 games where they've been shut out at home, which is just ridiculous. They've been awful at home. But they also have a look ahead, I think, to Carolina coming up next. And Carolina did beat them at home in one of those shutouts, which was a win for us here on the show. Carolina beat them 3-0 back on whatever day that was, November 4th. So that Carolina game, a little bit more incentive maybe for New York in that game. It's going to be back out on the road, too. So they get to go on the road, and they get a chance at road revenge. And that makes this home return spot even worse because I talk about how it's a distraction when you come home because you have to get back to family life and whatever. But they have to leave immediately and play that big game against Carolina. So I think they're going to overlook St. Louis here, man. I like St. Louis here. St. Louis, they're still under the radar, I think, because they're underperforming to start the year. And they just had a nice win for us on the show and broke that long loss streak. So it's going to disrupt their losing momentum. But not only that, but they played at the Islanders, so the travel spot is way better for St. Louis, even though it's towards the end of a road trip here. They're staying in New York with a day off, so they're just switching boroughs here, basically, from Queens to Manhattan. So it's an easy travel spot. In New York, the Rangers are coming back from Utah, so with the same amount of days off. So the travel spot is way better for St. Louis. Give me St. Louis. The Rangers are very public. 93% of tickets, 94% of the cash. Up from minus 140 to minus 142. But, yeah, I'm all over St. Louis in that one. That's the best of the hockey plays. A clown tout on Ottawa gave a clown tout on Yahoo gave out Ottawa. I have no idea who Quinn Allen is. I don't disagree with Ottawa in that game, I don't think. Panthers facing former coach. How long has that coach been away from them, though? Bobrovsky got pulled, and Tarasov was awful. I don't know. You just hate Florida, dude. But I think Florida, the spot makes sense for Florida in this game. I'll talk about that in a minute. Mostly I just hate Nashville just because they just own me every time I try to play them. Columbus at Washington. This game, not interesting to me, really, but Washington's coming off a loss to Tampa Bay. They're staying at home. Maybe they'll be focused for a game against Columbus, but that did just disrupt a huge win streak for them. And that was a difficult spot for them because they'd beaten the Kings, Edmonton, Montreal. They do have Winnipeg next. Will they overlook Columbus? That's possible too. Columbus is coming off an overtime loss to Detroit, though, and they've played back-to-back games in overtime, beating Toronto on the road and then losing to Detroit in overtime. So it's kind of a tough spot for them coming off that Detroit game where they played tough and took them into overtime. So overall, I think Washington does make more sense in what could be more of a bounce back spot here. Down from minus 160 to minus 156, 91% of the cash on them, and then 59% of the tickets on Columbus. Oh, Tarasov was great, you meant? Oh, all right. Oh, yeah, like standing on his head, you meant he was just, blocking everything, basically, and contorting his body in every way to get a bunch of stops, yeah. But, yeah, I would lean to Washington in that game. Florida, your favorite team at Nashville. Florida, they're coming off an ugly loss, man, to Edmonton. I know that it's a tough game, Edmonton, Florida, but the game meant more to Edmonton. I leaned to Edmonton in that game. I just thought it was a bad spot for both teams. Edmonton was in some bad spot there. I forget exactly what it was. But now Florida, losing bad at home, going out on the road, I think it kind of makes sense. You just leave home, go out on the road, refocus on hockey. It kind of, to me, looks like a bounce-back spot for Florida. For Nashville, they just suck. I don't know what else to say. It should be a bounce-back spot for them. They return home from Sweden after getting shut out the second game in Sweden against Pittsburgh. They came back home, but of course it was against Colorado. Colorado is a force, and Nashville did get shut out in that game too. So in a way, I would say that, well, when a team's off back-to-back shutouts like that, they're going to show up. And, of course, they should show up for a game against Florida. But the money is saying otherwise. The money is saying Florida here. Although they dropped from minus 150 to minus 128 for some reason. I don't know if there was a goaltender change or what. But 55% of the cash on Florida, 71% of the tickets on Nashville. It's because Tarasov is starting tonight. Well, whatever. That means you're getting more value on the line on Florida, because I think that's part of the reason why it dropped, because it's not Bobrovsky. The money is coming in on Florida. I don't trust Nashville at all, dude. Like, they never were able to get it done. This team, they never win, even when they're in good spots. So, like, I don't know what to tell you about Nashville. They suck. Like, I'm certainly not going to get involved with Nashville. I don't really want to play Florida either, but the market is saying Florida. Good luck, because they suck ass, which I know is part of the handicap. I mean, it's part of what the odds makers do. It's factored into the line, but yeah, there's no way I would want to do that. The last game I'm going to give out is going to be, what is it again? Wait a minute, I forget what it is now. Wait, did I get this right? Hold on. I think it is in this Vegas-Utah game. What were my thoughts on this game? Hang on. Oh, yeah. It's Utah. We're going to give out Utah here. Utah's my other hockey play here. Our favorite guys, the Mammoth, who, by the way, this is hilarious, by the way, but if you look at Utah, look at their, on ESPN now, Mammoth is all caps. I'm like, is that really, like, is that the actual spelling of it now? Oh, no, wait, it's not all caps. The whole team is in all caps. I was like, what am I saying? Like, it looked like it just jumped out at me. I'm like, that's awesome if they just capitalize. They are, though. Like, look at the, if you can see that in my tab here, like, the title of the page has Utah lowercase, but Mammoth in higher case, uppercase. So, yeah, dude, I don't even know, man. But it's hilarious. I like that. If the Mammoth, they're like, no, our team name is all caps. Get it right. This is going to be Utah at about minus 104 here. That's what we're going to do in this one. We're going to fade Vegas. Vegas, they played Utah back on Thursday at Utah, by the way, and they won 4-1. So there's a little bit of a quick revenge aspect to this game that I like. This game, yeah, Vegas did outshoot Utah. They did outface off them a little bit, but it wasn't really a blowout. And Utah was the more physical team, which I do like. Yeah, I mean, the score was a little bit misleading in the game. Let's just put it that way. I don't remember who was in net in this game for the Mammoth, although I don't really consider their goalies to be one way better than the other. It was Vejmelka, who is kind of their better goalie, but even so, I don't like the spot for Vegas here. Vegas, they had to play a game in between the two. They had to go to Anaheim, and they took Anaheim into overtime, and we know how good Anaheim has been, especially at home. Even though I think Anaheim's overrated, Vegas had to go into overtime and lost the game. I don't love it, man. And they have Ottawa and Montreal up next, and those teams have good records right now. And they did just beat Utah on the road, so now it's a zigzag spot where Vegas might overlook Utah, and they're in kind of the hangover spot, whereas Utah is probably going to be up for the game, man, because they know they lost that game. Utah's been on a skid, but Utah was able to redeem themselves by ending that skid by beating the Rangers. So they're staying at home. They get revenge against Vegas here. They broke their loss streak, so I think that's going to give them some momentum coming into this game. Don't know if it's going to be Vejmelka or Vanacek again in this one. Personally, I don't really think it matters that much, although I know they've lost their last couple of games with Vanacek in there, but whatever. I like it. Vegas is very public, 89% of the tickets, 99% of the cash on them, but I think we're going to see that turn around a bit. I mean, we know we're fading the public with Vegas here. They're just a heavily public side, it looks like to me. They're up from minus 113 to minus 114 for now, but I don't like it. We are going with Utah in this one. All right. You're going to, to catch a predator. Yeah, bring, what's his name? Chris, what's his name again? Dude, I can't remember anything anymore. My brain is just dead. Chris Hansen. Yeah, bring him with you for that. The Washington Capitals are all Caps. Yes, exactly. They are the Caps. All right. Ottawa and LA to finish this off. Your tout gave out the play on Ottawa here. I'm not sure that he's wrong on this one. Ottawa, they just beat San Jose in their most recent game, so I'm not going to consider this to be a look ahead or anything like that, although they might have Merrill Lane in a net for this one, though, and not Olmark, although Olmark is their better goalie, so maybe that would be a knock against Ottawa. For LA, I mean, they're on a 3-game skid. They just lost to Boston at home. I know they've had time off, so that's good at least, and they get to break that losing momentum. And then they have Anaheim next, but it's not for a while, but I just can't do it, man, because you're looking at this Kings team, like I've already pointed out, they have 1 win at home all season, dude. The Kings are basically the Rangers. They can't win at home. They're 1-4-3 at home. So, I mean, I don't love that at all, and Ottawa's been decent on the road. I think Ottawa will show up. I mean, I think maybe you could argue both teams will show up. The money is saying that Ottawa's the correct side. Even though LA is up from -131 to -140, 87% of tickets, only 61% of the cash. But you're getting a pretty decent Ottawa team, not in a horrible spot as an underdog against an LA team that cannot win at home. I'm not going to do that. Kings just beat Ottawa, so it's revenge for Ottawa as well. All right. I would lean to Ottawa in that game as well. Yeah, you're right. Ottawa lost at home 1-0, so it's a quick road revenge spot. Thank you, Jeffrey, for pointing that out as well. So, yeah, that makes me like Ottawa as well. It's not a play for me, but yeah, I agree with it. I agree with Ottawa. I mean, with whoever that tout is. NBA, oh, God. We have so many fucking games to talk about, dude. NBA, Detroit at Indiana. This one almost made my card. I was getting really greedy with the NBA. Detroit, they're coming off a win over Milwaukee. It's a pretty big win, divisional win, although I know it's Milwaukee without Giannis now. But now they got to play Indiana, and they just beat Indiana at home by 15, so it's a little bit of a quick revenge spot for Indiana. Detroit does also have to play Boston, the Celtics, my Celtics, on ESPN on Wednesday. So this looks like a sandwich spot with a quick revenge aspect for Indiana. I think Detroit is just going to come in and overlook Indiana, man. So this has not made my card. Indiana did just play Cleveland last, but they did lose. I think they're going to show up because, again, they did just lose to Detroit. So I think you're going to get an effort out of Indiana in this one. I would lean to Indiana. The money is saying otherwise, but I don't understand why. The Pistons are up from 8.5 to 10. I mean, the line looks ridiculous. Laying 10 on the road in a spot like this for the Pistons, it almost looks like a sandwich. 69% of the tickets on the Pacers, 71% of the cash on the Pistons. Yeah, before 7 p.m. This is going to be a 2.5-hour show. I hate it. But yes, the money's coming in on the Pistons. I do not agree with it. I would take the Pacers plus the points. Cleveland at Toronto. Cleveland, they're coming off beating the Clippers, which is whatever, but that was yesterday. So it's a third game in 4 days, and now they're traveling to Toronto. Although Cleveland does kind of have reason to be focused here because they've lost to Toronto twice already, both at home. So it's a little bit of double in-season revenge here for Cleveland. Although maybe you could argue that Toronto's just figured Cleveland out. As far as Toronto's concerned, they're on this nice long win streak, 7 wins in a row, including beating Cleveland once at Cleveland. Toronto's on a back-to-back too, but they are staying at home, so the travel spot is better for the Raptors. The money is saying to take the Raptors. Cleveland up down from 3 to 2.5, 86% of tickets, 73% of the cash on Cleveland. So the money is kind of indicating on the Raptors. That's what the money. That's what the market is saying. I don't know if I agree. I think Cleveland is going to show up and want to get Toronto back a little bit. So both teams are going to show up for this. I don't know if there are any injuries factoring in here. It looks like we have Jared Allen is day-to-day. That's really the one big one for Cleveland. Barrett looks like he is day-to-day for Toronto, though, so that's something to watch because he is one of their better players. So it actually doesn't look good that he's going in for like an MRI on his knee or whatever. So he might actually be out. And That would mean it's an injured player spot for Toronto, though. So I guess that would be one indicator towards the Toronto side. If Barrett is going to miss this game, they might step it up a little bit more without him. Best half-court offense in the NBA for Toronto. I mean, they are playing well. I don't know exactly how they do it, but yeah. That game, I don't know. I just gave you all the information that I can on that one. I don't love the game. Knicks are at Brooklyn. I mean, Brooklyn, they're going to try to step it up usually for a game against the Knicks. Knicks coming off a fairly ugly loss down in Orlando. I know Orlando's not bad, but Knicks coming back home here. They don't really have anything up next. Could be a little bit of a bounce back spot, even though they did embarrass Brooklyn last time they played them in Madison Square Garden by like 36 points or whatever. Brooklyn, not a great team, obviously. They're coming off another loss to Toronto, and that was yesterday. So they're actually playing a third game in 4 days, all in different cities. So the spot is pretty ugly for Brooklyn, man. Even though, yeah, generally I would say they're going to try to get up for a game against the Knicks, but the spot is awful. And the public looks like they're on the Knicks for some reason, or the Nets. I mean, for some reason, the public, 85% of the tickets on the Nets and only 81% of the cash. I would lean to the Knicks. I mean, I don't want to lay 14 points on the road, but if you force me to give you an opinion on that, I would lay it with the Knicks. I don't love the spot the Nets are in at all. The line is probably moved. The Knicks are probably laying that many points because of the rest situation, because Brooklyn is in such a bad rest spot. But they look like a public home underdog here, which you never want. And you usually never see that with a far, far inferior team. Yeah, I don't get it, but I mean, I do kind of get it. It's that I don't even know who these players are on the Nets, by the way. So looking at their injury report, I'm like, huh? Like, I don't even know who these guys are. Anunoby is still out for the Knicks, I think. But yeah, I mean, I would probably only lay it with the Knicks if I was going to do anything with that game. I mean, it looks like the publics are betting the Nets. It looks like the public are betting the Nets. I don't know for sure. Dallas, Miami, we're going to get right into it, man. We're going to have a play on this one. This is going to be, let me see, what's the number that we can get on this here? You might already know what it's going to be. Let's see. We're going to go Dallas +9. We're going to take the points with Dallas. I do not like Miami in this spot. Miami looks like they're getting the money, so I'm disagreeing with the market here. Dallas, 82% of tickets, 72% of the cash coming into the Heat. I do not understand why. Dallas, we know they have injuries. They're without Anthony Davis, I know, but that's been the case for a while, so I don't think we have any huge injury difference here between Dallas and Miami. Let's just put it that way. Although Anthony Davis, yeah, he's doubtful, so he's not playing in this game, like I said. So it means probably going to get more line value on Dallas. Lively is out, so I know that means Dallas is going to be hurting on the interior up against Adebayo. I get it. But first of all, for the injury thing, Hero is coming back from Miami, man, and I don't think he's played all season. So he's making his season debut, and he's their starting point guard pretty much. So, I don't like that, man. When you have a star player, when you have your hero coming back, it's the reverse injured player theory spot. Like I say, the team can kind of take their foot off the gas a little bit, knowing that they have one of their best players coming back. It's an opponent they might overlook here. They got to work him back, especially if he's going to be the one running the offense. He's got to get back up to game speed. He hasn't played since the playoffs last year, so he hasn't played in an actual NBA game for a long, long time. Maybe Miami will kind of ease him in and not play him that much, but I don't like it, man. And it could be a bit of, an issue trying to get back up to speed with the chemistry and whatever. And in addition to that, I just don't like the spot for Miami either. Miami just beat Philadelphia yesterday, so now they're playing a third game in 4 days, all in different cities, and actually a fourth game in 6 days. And yeah, in those games, they beat Golden State, and then the Chicago actually embarrassed them and blew them out. And prior to Golden State, they had actually beaten the Knicks 2 days prior to that too. So this is now a fifth game in 8 days with all big wins. And then they beat Philadelphia yesterday, big win as well. And they got Milwaukee and Detroit coming up after this. So I think they're going to overlook Dallas. I mean, this is a sandwich spot, beating all these good teams and mostly Eastern Conference opponents. Sandwich spot plus reverse injured player spot. Yeah, give me Dallas in this one. And Dallas is coming up an ugly, well, not an ugly loss, but a loss to an ugly Memphis team on Saturday. And they're starting a road trip. And I talk about starting a road trip as a good spot for a team to refocus because you get to forget about what's going on at home, leave the distractions behind, don't listen to the media, just go out and focus on basketball. So I like Dallas plus the points. Give me that one. That's a play for me. Oh, I'm on my Action Network there. There you go. You might have seen what my next plays are, but Yahoo is showing money on Dallas. I don't know. I don't look at what Yahoo is telling me with the money. I don't really know where they're getting their money, where they're getting their information. I mean, Denver at Memphis. Denver's coming off kind of a ridiculous loss to Sacramento at home. Yeah, I mean, it's not that ridiculous if you think about it, though, because it was a back-to-back with travel off a big win over Houston. So I think I probably mentioned it. I probably leaned towards taking it with Sacramento in that one. But Sacramento winning outright is a bit wild, although Denver had already beaten them twice. Looks like a bounce-back spot to me for Denver. They do have San Antonio next, but it's not for a few days. So I think you might see an angry team that will actually show up in this one after an ugly loss as a huge favorite. Could be a bounce-back spot. Memphis, I mean, they just beat Dallas. They're returning home from that. But, yeah, they'll try to step up their game here against Denver because Denver is good. But I would probably lay it with the Nuggets. Nuggets are down from 8.5 to 8, though. 92% of the tickets, 96% of the cash on them. I would lay the points with Denver, though. So that's what I would do there. And, yeah, that's about it. Yeah, Aaron Gordon is out for a while. Does that mean it's an injured player spot too? It's not as significant as Jokic, but Gordon has been out since the last game though. So Gordon did not play in the last game either. So it's not really, it could be like a delayed injured player spot maybe because the last game he played was against Houston. Denver they obviously did not have the injured player boost of, They did not bring their game in that game against Sacramento. Let's just put it that way. Maybe they'll have a delayed injured player reaction to it. But, yeah, I would lay the points with Denver in that game. Portland at Milwaukee. We faded Portland last night, so they're on a back-to-back. They got blown out by Oklahoma City. That was one of our wins. They're playing a third game in 4 days, though, all in different cities. Fourth game in 6 days, all in different cities. And a fifth game in 7 days, all in different, or not all in different cities. The first 2 at home, but this is still a difficult scheduling spot for Portland, man. Just way too many games in a short period of time. Milwaukee coming off losing to Detroit. Of course, they're without Giannis, but the spot is a lot better for Milwaukee here to get a win to try to finish this road trip with something. So I would lean to Milwaukee here. They're very public, though, and the money is coming in against them, and I don't understand that at all. The Bucks down from 2.5 to 1.5, 96% of tickets, only 95% of the cash on them. I don't get it. I mean, why do you want to play the Trailblazers, in a spot like this when, the odds makers are basically asking you to just pick the winner? I don't like it, dude. So, yeah, those are my quick thoughts on that game. The Bulls are going to be at New Orleans here. The Bulls coming off getting blown out by Miami. That was they beat Washington. I was going to say that was an embarrassing loss. They didn't exactly bounce back because they were 12.5-point favorites against Washington, and they almost lost that game. So now they get to go out on the road after that, after some ugly performances, even though I know it's a third game in 4 days, but starting a road trip in kind of bounce-back mode, I think is a good thing. To me, it's a focus spot for Chicago. For New Orleans is coming off an ugly loss at home against Atlanta, too. So, to me, it looks like a focus spot for both teams. I don't know what the Zion Williamson situation is looking like here. He's not on the injury report, so I guess he is fully back. Although New Orleans looks like they're going to be missing Poole and maybe a couple other guys. Bulls, not a whole lot going on with their injury report, it doesn't look like. I mean, most of these guys we don't have any, significant players that I think are on the injury report there. I lean to the Bulls side. They're up from 5 to 5.5. 94% of tickets, 97% of the cash. When you got 2 teams in focus spots, I think the better team wins out. And the focus, I think, is going to be more on the Chicago side as well. They're public, 94% of tickets, but 97% of the cash on them. So I agree with it. I would lean that way. Next up, here's a play for you. We're going to go with, let me make sure what it is. Yep, I see it. We're going to go with the Phoenix Suns plus 6.5. I don't think we're going to get 7 on this. I don't know. Maybe if you wait, you might be able to get 7 on this one because the number's up from 6 to 6.5. 80% of the tickets are on the Rockets. 57% of the cash coming back on the Suns. I like the Suns in this one. I hate the spot for Houston. But yeah, if you can get, I would wait because 6.5, not a huge difference. Try to get the 7 on this one. Houston just lost a 5-game win streak, and they finished that win streak by beating Orlando, although they had an escape against Orlando, but a decent win nonetheless. And then they beat Cleveland on the road, and then their win streak ended by losing to Denver. Huge game, man, and they lost in a very, very close, tough game against Denver. Now they're going to come off of that, and I know I usually say starting a road trip, you're focused, but they're coming off that huge game against Denver. It is Phoenix. They are a winning team right now. Yes, Houston has a couple of days off to try to break that losing momentum now, but I don't know, man. I think it's going to be a hangover spot here. And by the way, Houston's next game in 2 days on ESPN, Golden State, and that game is really significant because guess who eliminated Houston from the playoffs last year? Yeah, that was the Golden State Warriors, and this is the first time Houston gets a chance at revenge against them. They haven't played them since then. That is a huge look-ahead spot for Houston there to Golden State, man. So, terrible spot for Houston, in my opinion, here. Phoenix, on a nice little 3-game win streak here. I know they're on a back-to-back. That's really the only bad thing about this. In Phoenix, they don't have a deep roster, I know, so the back-to-back is a little bit iffy here. They beat San Antonio without Wemba yesterday, and they did beat Minnesota in the game before that. But I've talked about how Minnesota has no wins against winning teams this year, which is bizarre. But yeah, Phoenix, I mean, they're playing back-to-back, 3 games in 4 days, but they're at least staying at home. I still think the spot is a lot better for them. I think they will show up for a big game against against Houston. Give me Phoenix. The money is agreeing with it. If you can get 7 on it, that's even better. Give it to me. Durant is out for personal reasons. What does that even mean? Like, what is that even going to do? I don't know. I mean, does that set up an injured player spot? I just am going to ignore that because I think the spot is just really bad in my opinion. Yeah, it is going to be his first game out, but I mean, Durant, I mean, he's a newcomer to the team, so I don't know if that's really considered to be an injured player theory spot. I mean, they have other guys that are star players at this point, even though Durant is one of their best scorers, but whatever. A family issue, whatever that means. Okay. But yeah, I still like it. I like Phoenix. X's and O's. I do nothing with X's and O's. You know, the X's and the O's, they haunt me. Yeah, that's what I think about the X's and O's, man. Utah at Golden State. Our pals with Utah here. This is going to be a play for me. Yeah, I know this one is, I don't know. This seems like something I might not usually do. You might not like it, but we're going to lay the points with the Warriors. Minus 14.5 in this one. Sometimes these big favorites, you can't be afraid to lay big favorites in some cases in the NBA, man, because there are a lot of points scored. We had the Jazz last night, okay? The Jazz are coming off a bunch of big games, man. 3 games in 4 days, too, where they lost to OKC at home. They just almost beat the LA Lakers and got a win for us covering the spread last night. And now they got to travel for a single-game road trip to go face the Warriors. I don't love the spot here, man. Back-to-back with travel, coming out of elevation off a huge performance against the Lakers. I know it's Golden State, and you kind of want to get up for them, but they're sitting at 500. And Golden State, the spot is much better for them, as we faded Golden State in their last game, and they lost outright to Portland. And that was because they were returning home from a long road trip and returning from Florida at the end of that road trip. So I thought it was a really bad spot for Golden State. Didn't like it at all, and they took the loss. And you know what I talk about when a team gets distracted and they fall into that return home distraction spot and have a bad game, lose the game, then they can get stuff done at home and they focus. They usually play a lot better on the next game. I know, like I said, they do have Houston up next, I know, but that game is bigger for Houston than it is for Golden State, I think, right now. And Golden State, again, I think they're going to be in kind of an embarrassed mood off of that game, and they have multiple days off staying at home to try to break that losing momentum and get their stuff done at home and focus on this game. I like the Warriors. The money is saying otherwise, but whatever. 93% of tickets on the Warriors, 55% of the cash coming back in on the Jazz. Money is saying the Jazz. I am not saying the Jazz, even though I like the music. And it doesn't exist in Utah because they used to be a New Orleans team. We're going to lay it with the Warriors. They needed a good fourth quarter. When were they losing? I don't even remember. I thought they were in the game, I thought, right until there was like one bad stretch that they had in the middle of the fourth quarter, I thought. No, I mean, they didn't have like a great fourth quarter. Like all the quarters were close. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, they were losing within the fourth quarter. Going into the fourth quarter, though, they were only down 3 going into the fourth quarter. They were pretty bad in the fourth quarter, and they made a really late comeback. Like I said, they were in the game until like really late in the quarter, basically, and then they made that late comeback to come back. So their fourth quarter wasn't good. The final minutes were good, but that's another reason to fade Utah for that. And then finally, I know you're not going to like this one either, but we're going to lay a favorite here. And in this case, I think it's an anti-public road favorite with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Even though I talk about how Minnesota, this is -9, I think, on this one. Even though I talk about how Minnesota doesn't win against good teams. Well, luckily for us, they're playing a bad team, the Kings. So Minnesota, actually it's 9.5, my apologies. I don't think it was ever below 7 or below 7.5 though, so not a huge difference there. But we're going to do this, the T-Wolves. Hilariously, the public is on the Kings, 88% of the tickets on them, makes no sense. T-Wolves up from 7.5 to 9.5 here, 59% of the cash on them. I agree with the T-Wolves. That's not through a key number at least, so I think we can lay it with the T-Wolves here. T-Wolves, again, they beat bad teams. That's what they do. So hopefully that happens here. I know they've beaten Sacramento twice already. So, does that mean it's like some sort of revenge angle for Sacramento? I don't really think so. Even though you'd think Minnesota, they might take Sacramento lightly because Sabonis isn't there now. But I don't know. I think Minnesota just has Sacramento's number. They blew them out twice already. And now Minnesota's coming off a loss at Phoenix, multiple days off to try to get ready for this. I know they do have Oklahoma City up next. You got to worry, I guess, a little bit about the look ahead. But this is also about fading Sacramento here. So I think Minnesota might have the ability to show up in this one, man. A couple days off. Sacramento, we know what spot they're in. They just beat the Denver Nuggets. And not only that, but let's make it worse. They're returning home from a road trip that they've been on since Friday, November 14th. So they're in a road trip return spot. And they finished the road trip with their only win. And it was their best win of the season at Denver, getting a huge upset win. Terrible, terrible spot for Sacramento coming off of this. Yeah, again, I mean, you could argue they should be focused because Minnesota's beaten them twice, but I don't see it. I mean, a bad team falling into a distraction spot like this usually gets exacerbated. Minnesota is the play there, and that is my final play of the day. I know it's a ton of plays today. And we have to talk about the Monday night football game really quick here. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to get out of here, and I got to get my show up. And I got to get my next Instagram video up because there's one 1 p.m. basketball game I gave out. The game tonight is Panthers-49ers. 49ers are a public side, 76% of the tickets, but they've gone through the key number of 7, basically up to 7.5. So it looks like that is a bit of a key move. 78% of the cash on the 49ers. I kind of like the 49ers in this one. I mean, this is not one that I want to give out as a play or whatever, but I don't buy Carolina, man. I just do not. They're 6-5 record. I think they're a joke. I mean, if you look at their wins on the season, man, they beat Atlanta twice, and of course, I gave out Carolina in the first win against Atlanta because Atlanta was in a terrible spot. And even though Carolina won the game 30-0, they won the turnover battle big time, and Atlanta outgained them significantly in the game. So that win was not what it appeared. They beat Miami. Who cares? They beat Dallas, which is one of their better wins, but in a bad spot for Dallas. They beat the Jets. Who cares? They suck. They beat Green Bay. But you remember that was one of my plays. I gave out Carolina against Green Bay. Green Bay was in a monster sandwich spot in that game. So bad spot again. And then Carolina actually lost to New Orleans coming off of that game, although that was a bad spot for Carolina. And then Carolina did win again in overtime against Atlanta in their most recent game. And yes, I know Bryce Young put up a ton of his career performance in that game, man. He put up a ton of yards, but coming off a career performance like that, I actually think you're in line for a regression and for a personal letdown from Young. Like, he's not going to put up 448 passing yards again here, man, I don't think, unless they're just airing it out a ton in garbage time when they're losing or something. Carolina also, the travel spot I don't think is good. They have not gone further west than Green Bay this entire season. They did. They went to Arizona, my mistake. And they lost to Arizona, my apologies. But they have not gone to the Pacific time zone this entire season. They did come back against Arizona. They did, I think, outgain Arizona. But Arizona was beating them 27-3 late in the game. So they did not play well in that game. Now, primetime game, West Coast for an East Coast team. You know I talk about this. It messes with your biological clock. It's the worst spot for an East Coast team biologically to be in because you're playing late at night based on your biological clock. So even if Carolina's going to try to get up for it because San Francisco's a pretty good team, I don't love it, man. I do not. And I think Carolina's overrated right now. San Francisco, I mean, yeah, the public is back on them a little bit, but the public has had a tendency to not love them this year, although they might like them a little bit more with Brock Purdy in there. But Purdy wasn't good necessarily against Arizona. But the thing about that is that even though, yes, I know Arizona outgained them in the game, the final score was misleading in that game. Arizona completely outgained the 49ers. They outplayed them. I know, but it was a reverse injured player spot because Brock Purdy, it was his first game back, so you got to expect a little bit of rust, even though I'm not a Purdy fan, and I think Jones was not that much worse, but in a way, the offense did look better with Purdy out there if you watch some of that game. So this is now going to be the second game with Purdy back, so usually that's a better situation for a team. The second game, they have that guy back. Usually the rhythm's back. He's got a game under his belt now. I think that's more of a positive for San Francisco. So I like San Francisco in this game. That's the way I would lean. I would lay it, although if you wanted to do that, you'd probably have to find 7. Or, you know what? You could tease them or put them in a money line parlay, but I think they win the game. So they're a good teaser candidate. If you find them at 7.5, you could drop them down to 1.5 through all the key numbers. I would tease them with maybe one of the upcoming games, which I haven't really looked at yet this week. But yeah, I would probably tie them into a teaser for a game that is later this week, in the next week, you know what I mean? Because a lot of books will allow you to do that, so that might be the best way to play this. The total has gone up to 49.5, but now it looks like money's coming back on the under. 65% of tickets on the over, only 57% of the cash on the over. I don't really see an under in this game, though. 49ers, their top 2 defensive players are hurt for the rest of the season, although they've been playing all right without them, but no Bosa and no Warner. Panthers, their defense is no good either. So, yeah, I don't really see the argument for the under in this game, but the total has gone up through that key number of 47.5, though. So, I don't know. Those are my thoughts on the game. That's going to do it. Once again, my plays for the day. Toledo +3 in college basketball is already underway. Coming up soon, Rutgers plus the points, Notre Dame plus the points, Sacred Heart plus the points, Northern Arizona plus the points, Gonzaga minus the points, San Diego State plus the points. Hockey, we got the Blues and the Mammoth on the money line. NBA, Dallas +9. Phoenix, hopefully you can get a 7 on this, but Phoenix plus the points. Golden State minus the points. Minnesota minus the points. And that is it. Very, very jammed day, man. I didn't expect to have this packed of a day. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Learn to Toad on Instagram. Learn to Toad on Twitter. Subscribe to the channel here. Give me comments, good comments. Give me a good review on Apple and Spotify. Listen over there. Helps me out, too. Covered in Uke on YouTube is my Uke channel. And then patreon.com/learntotode is my Patreon, where you can get bonus Uke stuff. Spotify feed and requests that I don't pay attention to right now. So, yeah. Bears and Eagles are the luckiest team. Yeah, so the Eagles have won a lot of close games, and the Bears are just the most overrated team I've ever seen. I don't know if you phrase it as luckiest, I guess I agree. The Eagles are one of the luckiest, but the Eagles are not a bad team. Like, I wouldn't say the Eagles are actually really necessarily that overrated. So I don't know. That's the Black Friday game. That Yahoo guy says the over. I don't disagree with him on that. You gotta win your fantasy matchup with Purdy and Kittle. I just have to avoid like an outlandishly monster performance from the combination of Leggett and Christian McCaffrey, because I still have Dowdle in my flex spot, so hopefully he gets points to counter that. But I'm up by like 60 points. Like, my opponent had a really bad week. And even though Taylor and Mahomes did nothing for me this week, my week was actually okay. I picked up Wilson on the Cardinals. He was good. I have Borregales at kicker, and he had 18 points out of my kicker spot, the Patriots kicker. Hell yeah, baby. And then Rashee Rice had another really good game for me, so wasn't all bad for my team. The squares are going to be laying it. I disagree. They're not always wrong. The squares are going to be on an over too, though. I mean, the over is definitely a square. The over is like always square in these bailout games Monday night. And yes, I agree, the favorite is usually also square, but I don't like it. I don't see it. Carolina is very overrated. I don't like the spot. I think the 49ers win and cover. That's going to do it. I got to get my show up and whatever. Got to eat some food. Might have to try the KFC gravy flight. It's going to do it for now, guys. Peace.